Welcome back to the Infamous Podcast. This is Brian.
This is Darryl.
And this is our special guest,
Brian Williams.
in my studio this time.
Legendary legacy creator, content creator that was on the show. First 2 episodes.
First 6 episodes.
Damn.
Actually 7. We did 7.
Damn, that was pretty consistent.
I know. Well, you did miss 1 in that 7, so.
Okay.
Anyway, but no, last time we spoke with Brian, we were in his entertainment
Sanctum
studio,
Sanctorum.
his Sanctum Sanctorum. Now we're in the Nerd Den studio, as you can see. Anyway,
I saw that.
Darryl is not in the room with us, unfortunately. So why not?
Because I'm in Kentucky,
Okay.
and you're all the way up there.
Do either one of you guys watch Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco by any chance?
Yeah,
on
we
Nightcap?
share clips. Like,
Yeah,
Did you see
just
it
the
a couple-
clips.
Did you see it a couple weeks ago when Shannon jumped all over Chad for being late?
no.
It was
Oh,
funny and
I-
unnerving at the same
Yeah.
time.
So I don't know. I mean, we're both
Yeah.
late. We take turns being late,
I know.
like constantly. So, if one of us jumped on the other one, it'd be pretty hypocritical.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So, all right. So we are going to talk about episode 4 of The Penguin, and then because this is the 450th episode, Brian is on the podcast, and we are going to actually talk about the last 10 years of podcasting that has been done for this show. Our 10-year anniversary isn't until July, but we are in our 10th year.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
It's an awesome effort
So,
and good material.
thanks.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like the last, Darryl, is it 3 years or 4 years now? 3, 4.
4.
4 years.
Was it March 2020?
Yeah. Like, it's been more fun. Like, no offense. Like,
Shut up.
but seriously, no, it's been more fun doing the show with Darryl than you or the other guy. Because like we've done a good job of like carrying on, like Darryl and I have done a better job of carrying on like our original idea to make all of this accessible for people, and then diving deep into the characters and stories that we love.
Did you ever tell D about the original idea I approached you with?
No.
D, I came up to Brian one day at the comic book store because Brian and I would perchance run into each other, a few times here or there, and just we had a good old time.
It was like every other week.
Yeah, laughing and cracking jokes about things, and in between sharing comic book, recommendations. And well, I have a buddy that he did a review on his book.
Oh, we did. We talked about this
Yeah.
at So.
But the thing was, I approached Brian and I said, we need to do a podcast where you got a black guy and a white guy just going back and forth and sharing different sensibilities. No culture war shit, because that wasn't even a thing back then.
We all just got along.
Yeah, it was, it was just on some, hey, he's a black guy I'm a black guy at the comic book shop. He's a white guy at the comic book shop. Here's what the black guy reads. Here's what the white guy reads. And at some point, we created our own culture war. We started creating our own culture war. And but you know what? Look, something beautiful has grown out of this. And I liked your work with Johnny, but yeah, I would tend to agree. You found you and D have found your calling here.
Yeah. So yeah, and like I said, so it has been a blast for the last 10 years, but the last 4 years have just been super creatively fulfilling.
What do you think you've done different with D that you didn't do with Johnny?
We talk about more stuff, more kinds of stuff, different, like we talk about sports every now and then.
Yeah.
We don't just talk about like comic books or like superhero stuff. We do talk about other things. We're much better at the banter. So I don't know. Darryl, what do you think?
Well, I would also say that, and again, this is just from what you've told me, is that we're both also willing to watch stuff that we normally necessarily wouldn't. I know you have in the past.
You make me watch
and
all sorts of Zack Snyder stuff that I would not normally watch.
Yeah, I'm a snob.
or Acolyte.
Yeah, he made me watch the first 2 episodes of The Acolyte.
Made you?
Yeah.
You're the Star Wars guy. You used to be.
I used to be.
Bro, you used to
Get
have
into
Star Wars Legos and...
They're all in boxes.
Yeah.
They're going to be for sale soon if anybody's interested in retired Star Wars sets too. So, but all right. So you guys have an idea about what we're talking about this week. So first things first, though, let's get to the Penguin, episode 4. You watched it, right?
No. See, D, that's my first problem. Brian told me about the show and wanted me to come on and kick it with you guys, and I was very excited. And I turned the Penguin on, and I immediately recognized the quality of what's his name, Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell.
I mean, he goes without saying he's top notch. I have the nerve to even like his rendition as a bullseye. In the poor Ben Affleck Daredevil movie.
It's an underrated movie.
He was the best part of that movie for me.
Way better
Yeah.
than Fan Four Stick, which
Hell yeah.
So
And it has a
that's
couple
not
of
saying
kick-ass
much,
fight
really.
scenes.
the whole scene with him and Elektra, with Daredevil and Elektra, but also the fight scene with Bullseye and Elektra was pretty cool too.
The fight scene when he shows up at the bar for the first time. Ooh, yeah.
So,
But I still am irritated by a TV show or a movie vehicle that springs from the Batman's universe, but Batman ain't in it. I can't abide by that. I'm tired of it.
I think Batman's going to show up at some point.
But I'm tired.
So,
just like D just said a few minutes ago, consumerism.
yeah. Here's the thing: it's an 8-episode miniseries.
I know.
It's not meant to be anything more.
It's a limited series.
Yeah.
Is it a mini or a limited
I
series?
mean, we had this discussion like 2 years ago. What is a miniseries? So
That's a good conversation.
it was a fun one. We talked about like V and all the death of the miniseries. So I'll give you a limited series. Yeah, because it's 8 episodes. I think a miniseries is like 4.
And
there's nothing wrong with that, by the way.
Right.
Like, you don't need to have, again, Joker 2 is proving it. You don't need, just because something's successful doesn't mean you need to have another sequel.
No.
And
No.
especially if you're going to screw the character over. Again, I haven't seen it, just based on people that have seen it and their opinions on it, people that I trust, some of these reviewers that I actually trust and aren't shills that didn't like it. So, but yeah, I'm fine with it. And it's funny, Brian, that I wasn't really interested in it either. I was just like, because again, I like the Batman more than Tudor did. I thought it was okay. There was some good stuff. It was way too long. It ended like 8 times, but I wasn't interested in this.
Right.
It was 17
Not at all.
movies mushed into one.
Well,
The Batman.
But yeah, but then Brian said, "Hey, this is out," and then just one Sunday morning, the Sunday after it came out, I watched it and I was hooked because, like you said, Colin Farrell is on another level with what he's doing, the performance he's giving. It's a surprisingly well, I won't even say surprisingly, I guess, considering what we talk about as far as the last 10 years and where we find ourselves. It's well written. It's, again, for only 4 episodes. I always give this caution. It's still 4 episodes left, so they could really screw it up. But based on what I've seen so far, I'm really digging it. Again, it's everybody's not going to like it, I know, and I've read that what you said about having a Batman spinoff without Batman. I've read other people say that too, not necessarily about the show, but just in general when they have shows based on a popular hero and then that hero is nowhere to be seen. So I get that.
Because the most compelling thing is we want to see how Batman.
Right.
No, not just see Batman. How does Batman bounce off of this iconic character?
Right. So
we never get to see that.
I've always had a problem with like Gotham, for example. Like Batman's a little kid, and you have all the Batman villains as adults in the show. There's no way Batman could ever be effective going into that Gotham because his rogues gallery will have 15 years of building their empire. Like Batman would never be able to make a dent in that. And I get that's a weird thing to like be concerned about because there's a guy dressed up like a bat fighting a guy dressed up like a clown. But with this, Batman's out there. They've talked about him. The show picks up right at the, like, not right at the end, but right after, like, the aftermath of what the Riddler did, blowing up the water wall. So I found like GCPD. Remember that comic?
Yep.
Like amazing comic book. Batman's not.
I enjoyed
He's
that.
only in like 3. He only shows up in 3 issues. He's not a, like, I think he's got
Is that
less
Chuck
than
Dixon?
Yeah, less than 10 panels, right? I look at it like that. This is what's happening under the Batman's nose, and I get what you're saying, and so yeah, I have to get into it. So the Batman should have been 3 movies.
Okay.
The first one should have been him fine-tuning the suit, fighting bad guys, like street-level crime bad guys, right? The Penguin should have been introduced at the end of the first movie and the focus of the second movie. Now, the Riddler should have been out there doing everything the Riddler did in the Batman, but like we know he's doing it, but nobody else knows who's doing all this stuff. So the first movie is him refining the whole Bat identity. The second movie is his first big challenge is the Penguin. His third movie is what's going on with all these murders and explosions and people dying in weird ways and the riddles being left behind. The third movie should have been the Riddler and no Catwoman. As much as I love Zoe Kravitz, like, pardon me, no Catwoman, right? And that might have been interesting, but Matt Reeves has zero ability to tell a nuanced story.
What do you think, D?
Yeah. I we've talked about it before. I like that idea of, especially of that first, that first story of Batman, him fighting the criminal element, like the low level guys, not necessarily just the low level, but because you would need some type of, for lack of a better term, big boss for the end.
Like
it doesn't have to be
like Falcone or something. Yeah.
Right. Like Falcone. That's exactly who I was thinking. And then going from there, because like I said, I like parts of I liked a decent amount of the Batman, but like you said, there was never that, oh man, this guy is showing the potential to be very intelligent, very detective like. Yes, the fight scenes were brutal. The takedowns he did I actually like those a lot, but we didn't really get a chance to see him grow, for lack of a better term, before something just such a travesty happens. Where if we got that in the second movie or third movie, it would have a much more instant impact on our emotions. I would actually say, because of how this show presents it, because we do see what happens with the water wall from Vic, who one of the his Penguin's, I guess, driver, from his perspective.
It's the Penguin's Robin.
Yeah. And the emotional impact of seeing it from his point of view, it was just missing from the movie, because you have no connection to the people or anything like that. And again, I'm not saying it necessarily needed to be 3 movies, but what Matt Reeves presented to us really needed to be cut down and focused more. And that's where I think he dropped the ball. Is it wasn't focused enough to be what it could have been.
I agree with Brian on the fact that Matt Reeves is clueless. That's the first thing. Second thing is, I mean, and I think he's a competent director, but I recall when we first heard some, press rushes on this whole thing that, I'm going in a different direction than Christopher Nolan, and I'm going to embrace the fantastic side of Batman, and it's going to blow everybody's minds. And bruh, as soon as you probably got some resistance, you retreated immediately to Christopher Nolan's treatment.
It was like you ordered Christopher Nolan's Batman on Temu.
Yeah, and
I didn't care for most of Christopher Nolan's Batman.
Well, I did, because I thought Christian Bale tonally nailed it, and I thought Michael Caine as Alfred.
Oh, no, I
nailed
wasn't
it.
talking about like actual Batman. I mean, like the movies. Like the second movie is a Joker movie. That should have just been called The Joker and Batman. And then the third movie was a fever dream of ridiculousness.
I think the third movie was. I think the third movie was a display of exuberance, because they did not know they were going to fully be able to recover from Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
And Batman Begins and The Dark Knight returned Batman to full form. Christopher Nolan, I think he did wonders with those two movies, and I'll give him the third one, because it's like, okay, it wasn't great, but it was okay. But Matt Reeves promised something different, and he didn't deliver.
No.
Now, what I'll say about the Pattinson Batman, I like Pattinson's Batman.
I agree.
Goodness.
I liked his Batman.
Yeah.
His Bruce Wayne, and I understand where his Bruce Wayne was in the story. So, I'll forgive that, because like he's not like this is why we needed that first movie. Him trying on the suit doesn't just mean the bat suit. It means the facade of Bruce Wayne. So
Have you guys ever watched the Batman Year One animated?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what Matt Reeves should have done.
Absolutely, 100%.
That whole Jim Gordon, because now you have, what's his name?
Jeffrey Rush.
Oh God,
Who's great.
what an inspired pick for Alfred. After
No, he was. Jeremy
not
Irons.
Alfred.
Jeremy Irons was Alfred.
No, I'm sorry. What an inspired pick for Commissioner Gordon after Gary Oldman. I mean, we don't get better Commissioner Gordons. No. Those are great.
Right.
Now, but they didn't do anything with him.
No.
And I resent that.
It should have been a younger Gordon anyway. So
yeah, but
not the same age as Batman, but like 10 years older, not 30 years older.
I think Batman needs to be retired for a minute.
Well, that's not happening.
But don't you think?
Yeah.
It should happen.
I said that
We talked about this with Star Wars.
Star Wars needs to go away for a decade.
Absolutely, some of these films and franchises need to be put on ice for a few years, 5 to 10 years
Marvel
or something.
needed
But
to
it's not going to
stop
happen,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
You're right. And Marvel needed to stop at Infinity War for 5 years and not have anything come out. And the first movie back should have been the Spider-Man movie.
Where have we lost, though?
Well, hold on. Let's talk about the Penguin, because
yes.
So this episode, Setiana, is that how you say it?
Is that the dark haired chick?
So Kristen Melody, she is Sophia Falcone. Or
Maroney.
No, she's a Falcone.
Does this remind
Falcone.
you?
She's a Falcone.
Does any of this remind you of Kingpin?
Yes, but this is also they took some of the Long Halloween, because she's in the Long Halloween. So is her brother. They were serial killers.
But Kingpinish.
But it's very Kingpinish. It's very it's very Daredevil without Daredevil.
And without Batman.
Well, sure, but so this episode was interesting because it's all about Sophia.
Okay,
it's her time in Arkham. It's so funny because like when we see Arkham in the comics and in the cartoons and in anything else, like it's co-ed. Like, you know, all the supervillains are just kind of tossed in together, and they pulled out Magpie from the John Byrne Superman Man of Steel.
Love her.
Anyway, so but she's in with all women, and it just struck me as strange. You know, I don't know how you felt about that, Darryl.
So my thought when I was with Arkham has been more of a It's for the criminally insane, correct?
Yes.
And but they present it, even though the with Magpie and then the other lady, that they did seem to be criminally insane.
Mm-hmm.
It just played like a regular prison to me.
Yeah.
Like, again, we didn't get a lot of it, but there was nothing special about when I think of Arkham and what I think an Arkham would be. It should have been more sparsely populated.
Mm-hmm.
And but I will say this: what they showed, what she went through,
Oh yeah.
was so well shot and directed, like from the music, the camera angles, the sound. Like, so, or was Kristen?
Yeah.
Was
Kristen
great.
Do you guys remember?
Yeah.
Requiem for a Dream.
Mm-hmm.
When Ellen Bernstein,
Darren Aronofsky.
Yeah, when Ellen Bernstein's character is going through the shock therapy, they did that with her, and like every time they came back to it, there was another green light because they kept turning it up higher and higher and higher. And it's kind of heartbreaking because she didn't do anything wrong. Like, she's innocent. She was like the innocent one of the family, and then she went and talked to a reporter, and her dad framed her for 7 murders, and sent her to Arkham for 10 years, and she comes out and she's the kind of kooky little Jack Sparrow-y type character that Sophia is.
Me being the devil's advocate in this conversation, because I'm just going to be fair. I didn't make it through these same episodes you guys have watched, and I know it's this is basically The Sopranos meets Batman. I mean, that's basically what this is.
I mean, he even looks like Tony Soprano.
And in a way, that's kind of a high concept that's compelling to me. But there's something I said to my sons and my daughter when we went to see the first Pattinson Batman. I was like, that Penguin is gangster. I like him. But he kind of takes away from the fantasy Penguin that I like too. Sure. And
I think if you watch it, like, I do think if you like just go home and like kind of like at some point put it on even as like just kind of like
background music,
and kind of like pay attention at The Office or something. He will give you glimpses of what that fantastical Penguin is going to be. Even though
let me give you an example,
because he's calculating like Oswald Cobb.
Let me give you an example. I tossed this out to one of my sons one night. Quincy was trying to convince me on watching the show before I talked to you, and he goes, "So what, Dad? What would convince you to watch the show?" I said, "The construction of a machine gun umbrella." I mean, I know you laughed at it.
We might get there,
but that would be cool.
He drives a purple Maserati, so.
I mean, and am I stupid for wanting a machine gun umbrella?
Yes.
Okay.
You could have just stopped at "Am I stupid?"
All right. Shut up. You're an asshole. But I don't want to lose that because otherwise I'm just watching Tony Soprano in a Batman. And we already got that with Falcone.
Sure. So anyway. Here's the thing though, like one of the things that this show is doing really, really well is like looking at all the different like levels of like betrayal, loyalty, internal struggle, that kind of stuff. These characters are all they're actually really nuanced, and interesting characters. But like, this episode was about the facade, right? The Oz has the Penguin has his facade.
Cobb,
which whatever. It's an Elseworld story anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's got the facade of who he is. Sophia has the facade of who she is and who she's becoming, and that is the interesting thing that I'm finding in this is the relationships between Oz and Sophia, Oz and Vic, who Vic has his facade, like he's actually a good guy, but he's jumping headfirst into this criminal world as the Penguin's Robin. What's the baby penguin called? Do we know?
No.
We should have asked Sam.
Has to say, oh yeah, that's right.
A tuxedo penguin.
From Atypical, yeah. So where'd my mouse go? But you know, like I don't know, Darryl. What are you thinking?
So I really like that idea because of what we've seen the characters develop, and I liked how this started, where we got from Sophia's point of view what happened when Alvar Zarala held him at gunpoint and everything. I was wondering why, after all of that, what we got at the end of last episode, why Oz would leave Sophia,
right?
But then we see why.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So this constant shifting of the narrative that these individuals, that these characters want other people to see them as, is fascinating, particularly with Oz. But I really like this episode because it showed where Sophia started 10 years ago. And let's be honest, like, despite being the daughter of a mobster and all this stuff, she was pretty naive, and she was not the heart and soul.
You know, she was all about that. So a baby penguin is called a chick.
A chick. Okay.
That word got you in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So I thought the best part of the episode, though, was the ending. I'm gonna spoil the ending for you.
Go ahead.
So she gassed everybody and killed everyone in the house, like her uncles, her aunt, her cousin, all their husbands and wives and stuff. So
except Johnny Beatty.
Except for Johnny Beatty.
Was that a Red Wedding episode?
Kinda, but it was like not gruesome and gratuitous.
You notice how everybody wants to have a Red Wedding episode now? Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, but she basically like took the family. Like, she's like, the whole time she's like, oh yeah, I'm assuming the head, and her uncle was like, no, I'm the head of the family now, and she's like, nah, you're not. But it's this great scene. She has this great yellow, like she has this yellow form-fitting dress on. She looks fantastic in it. Like, she's got the crazy eyes, like, you know. So there's that. I'm like, that's the type of girl for me right there. She just killed everyone in the house. She's got the crazy eyes. She looks good in a dress. What's your number? But the way she did it, in the fact that she saved her niece, like she pulled her niece out of the house before she did all of this, and it was the facade, right? Like, what is the mask and what is the real her? And that
kind of goes with
really well. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that kind of goes with the Batman thing, where I believe it was at Batman Begins when you have what is her name? Katie Holmes's character tells, like, Bruce Wayne is the mask, and Batman is the real you. And you have that, where, like, again, going back to these characters, Sophia, particularly basically Sophia and Oz, showing what they want other people to see, but under the surface, it's something completely different.
Yup. All right, so Darryl, out of 5, nothing like an unplanned Arkham Vacations. What do you give this?
4.45 out of 5.
4.45 out of 5. That's your lowest score yet.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe, I don't know. I give it a 4.71 out of 5. I love this episode. I thought it was awesome. I like when they dive deep into character. I mean, you know this. Like, you both know this about me. And it was really nice to, like, get this backstory in the middle of the season. I was so afraid they were going to do, like, the penultimate episode, like episode 7. Like, oh, by the way, now we're going to go look back at how Sophia became the Hangman. Doing it now makes sense narratively, and it makes sense for the way it ended in the present affects everything that's going to happen moving forward with the Falcone family, and the fact that the Maronis also know that Oz tried to pull one over on them. And so, I mean, it's hunting season for the Penguin moving forward. And I do think we're going to get the Batman at some point.
Well, you both, coupled with my son's reviews of the show. My oldest is crazy about it, and his younger brother loves it too. And you guys seem to really enjoy it.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna force myself to go back and take a look at it because, I love good writing. I love good characters. I tell you one thing I want to say before we end this conversation. Now, what I love about Batman is the nice philosophical discussions that you get out of a Batman saga like this. For instance, the hero that lives long enough to become the villain. There's also a theory out there when discussing Batman. Does Batman become his own sense of... Does Batman become an igniter or a starter that creates the wave of villainy in Gotham? Like, does his pure existence bring forth the worst aspects of Gotham?
That's the chicken and the egg question.
Yes.
Well, that's interesting you say that because I wasn't. It was something else I was watching the last day or two, but what popped into my head was that. Oh no, it was Superman and Lois actually that I was watching that made me think of that, and it reminds me of Vision's statement in Civil War where he says, "Our existence, our strength creates challenge."
Right.
So, and that's actually a very interesting discussion about as far as, oh, this guy does this, so I have to up my game, and oh, you have this hero in a mask that's beating criminals down. Well, I guess I got to get a whole lot stranger now. Or I like that idea of that type of debate.
And like to your point, like the fear of what it is, of what this is, like this urban legend of the bat. Right? Is it like, okay, well now we have to up our game, and then it becomes an arms race of violence.
I'll tell you, the last time I really had my Batman Jones going was Court of Owls.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because I felt for the first time in a Batman comic book that he was scared.
Yeah. I mean, Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo just killed that run. Just killed it. Goodness. And then they fell off a cliff afterwards, but they killed it. So, Lauren LaFranc is the head writer and showrunner of the Penguin. And, like, unlike most of these shows, she has actual bona fides. Like, she wrote for Chuck. She wrote for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, she was involved for nearly 100 episodes as a producer. And... she's written almost 40 episodes of television for good shows like My Own Worst Enemy, Chuck, Hemlock Grove, which was the first Netflix original series, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Impulse, which
Hemlock Grove, was that werewolves or vampires?
I think it was both. It was Famke Janssen.
Yeah.
It was one of Netflix's first shows.
It was their original. Like, they bought it from, like, Holland or something like that, but it was the first Netflix original.
Yeah.
And it was good. I'm not a big horror guy, I'm not a big horror guy, so I didn't really get into it. But just calling that out, and then this was the first episode that wasn't directed by Craig Zobel, and it was a woman named Helen Shaver, and I thought she handled it very deftly with the story and Sophia's story, and it's just exciting to see this level of writing in this phase of pop culture.
Mm-hmm. I'll agree with that.
So, all right.
I'll agree with that.
Cool. Well, actually, I feel like that's a good segue, Darryl. Are you okay if we move on?
No, let's move on.
All right. So fucking 10 years.
Jeez. Just like that.
I wasn't even 40 yet when we started.
Just like that.
Now I'm not even 50 yet. So Darryl and I are 2 days apart.
Really?
Yeah. So
that's cool.
We both grew up in Cincinnati, and we both went to Miami at the same time, but we did not know each other.
Didn't know each other.
No. So,
small world.
Yeah, but we bonded. Was it 2008 when Iron Man came out?
Yeah.
So like we both worked at Fidelity together.
Yeah.
And
which is cool because I worked there too.
Yeah, you worked there too. And
Oh, when did you work there?
I worked there at Blue Ash. I started in
Oh, okay.
93
Okay.
through 97.
He worked when they used abacuses before calculators. While we were still in high school.
Shut up.
Anyway, so Darryl and I met because he had a Spawn statue on his desk.
Yeah.
And a Buffy doll.
That was instant invitation.
Action figure.
And I'd always walk away. He's like, dude, I like your Buffy doll. And he'd be like, it's an action figure. But then we just started talking, and then we went and saw Iron Man together. And it was like kind of the first time hanging out. And then we just started seeing all these movies together. We kind of like, we'd take a Friday off whenever these things would come out. We'd go get lunch and we'd watch a movie. But in the time since we've started recording, we got Captain America Winter Soldier.
The bomb.
The peak of Marvel's power.
And nobody was even expecting it.
Nobody. To the Marvels.
Absolutely
I hate
not.
to say this, I'm not even a great fan of First Avenger.
I mean, it's a Joe Johnston film, so I automatically like it. But it served its purpose. It wasn't supposed to be this big groundbreaking hit. It was just supposed to get Captain America from 1940 to 2010.
But I'm just saying, you weren't.
Yeah.
When you go to see Winter Soldier, you don't know the pimp slap you're about to get when you walk into the movie theater.
We did, because
I didn't.
I mean, kind of. You knew the story with the Winter Soldier.
I knew the Winter Soldier, but I had no idea he would be portrayed that well.
Yeah. So I agree.
What's that guy's name?
Sebastian Stan.
Sebastian Stan.
So
who looks just like Mark Hamill.
Just less retarded.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, so like looking at what happened with Marvel, right?
Yeah.
We literally got the hype because it was Winter Soldier, and then later that summer it was Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep.
The two best MCU movies, in my opinion. I'm welcome to hear other, like, just for me, those are my two favorites. And depending on the day, they switch back and forth between number one.
Guardians was the beginning.
They're
of the
both
end of
top
Marvel.
6 to me.
Sorry, Darryl.
I said they were both top 6 for me.
Yeah.
Again, Winter Soldier was for the longest time number 1, and it hasn't dropped past 2. And again, like you're saying, it's right around. I think for the consistency, it would still be my number 1 movie. So, they're like I said, there's a strong top 5, but Winter Soldier's the one I tend to come back to.
Why do you think Guardians was the downfall of the MCU?
I just think Guardians started created a bad precedent for what people and executives conned themselves into believing was the Marvel cinematic way. And that is keep them laughing, keep it light, and don't take the subject matter too seriously, because now that we've got the ride moving, now that the ride is moving, nobody's going to jump off. Let's just keep them laughing, keep them distracted, rather than telling a compelling story. We're good at characters, we're good at comedy, and let's make our bread there. And that was totally not the case with Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier was a fairly complex piece of filmmaking and storytelling.
It's a spy movie.
Yes.
So I'd even have Robert Redford in it, who is, spy game is.
Well, I always look at Winter Soldier is Winter Soldier a good movie if you take out the superhero element?
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things I loved about that. Now, going back to your statement on Guardians, it's funny because I agree and I disagree. I agree wholeheartedly that the start of Guardians, because again, Iron Man had comedy in it, Iron Man 2 did, but there came a point where we talk about letting scenes breathe. There's nothing wrong with having jokes in a movie.
Nothing. But
you have to have them in the right place. So when Guardians was uber successful because it was well done, it was well acted.
Yeah.
The music was spectacular. what happened is, like you said, they think that, and again, we got that with the Suicide Squad that came out not too long after that, or a couple years after. I'm not sure when the first Suicide Squad, where they tried to do that same thing, and it's it's
But I think the first Suicide Squad was not quite the gun. The gun version of Suicide Squad.
The gun Suicide Squad is an abomination. So I will say this. So the first,
you didn't like guns.
No. I also don't like the Peacemaker show.
I don't either.
The first MCU movie that we talked about was Ant-Man,
and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Me too. But it came out the week we launched, so there was that. But for me,
but to go with what D just said, see, D, there's a good example. Ant-Man was a different gear in the Marvel universe that I think they nailed it. It was good family fun. It was a hero with bizarre and strange powers. So it was ridiculous. So you kind of had to lean into it and be jokey, because it could be taken as something that's just stupid, right, unless you treat it like that. But what's his name? Paul
Rudd.
Paul Rudd was
Galactic Treasure.
Paul Rudd was so good in handling being hilarious and serious, being this down on his luck heist guy with a daughter, a lovable daughter.
Right. Oh yeah, Cassie.
Yeah,
I love her.
Great stuff.
But so the first Ant-Man has more in common with Iron Man,
yes,
than any other MCU movie.
Yeah,
because it's one, it's a suit. 2, it's a self-contained story, and 3, it's very low stakes compared to the rest of these movies. I will say for me, the first crack in the armor was the Age of Ultron, because Ultron was played by James Spader, and if you've seen Less Than Zero, I half expected Ultron to give Iron Man a blowjob.
See, that's low fruit, and I'm tired of you already.
Anyway, but to be fair, Ultron was this
I thought
weird.
You were too young for that.
He was this weird, sarcastic, robot, and I get it's it had some of Tony's personality, but what makes Ultron terrifying in the comics is he's very matter of fact, down to business. Humanity has to end. Not, I'm going to toy with you.
What do you say, D?
Age of Ultron is not one of my favorite films, to put it lightly. Now, whether that was the crack or not, I think
it was the first,
honestly,
crack, little crack, but not a big.
Well,
crack,
I would actually go back to Guardians, not because Guardians was bad. It's actually for the opposite reason. Guardians was so damn good, and people liked it so much, and it blew expectations out of the water, because these are basically D-list stars. I was into comics as a young age. I knew nothing about the Guardians. Everybody else, I have all the other Avengers, all these other superheroes. I have comic books. When we cleaned out my parents' house, I found all these comics, and I was like, oh, Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, West Coast Avengers, regular Avengers, even some Captain America stuff. All these guys. I didn't know anything about Guardians, but it was a hit. I mean, it's undoubtedly a hit. And this is the thing, and this is what we've seen over these last 10 years. Something works, so they try to use that formula, but they don't just use the formula. They use it worse, and then they try to double down on an aspect of it, not understanding this story does not coincide with what we're trying to do here. That is what we've got from Guardians. And it's because Guardians was good, and they thought, hey, this made all this money, let's just keep doing it. Instead of thinking each project through, it's saying, does this tone make sense for this or for that? Like you said, Ant-Man was...
Go ahead. Ant-Man was...
No, I was just going to say, Ant-Man, the tone with Ant-Man was perfect for what it was.
It was.
But then when you make jokes with a Thor or these other characters, and that's all you do, you make Drax the Destroyer the freaking punchline of every joke. And again, that's an exception of the Guardians. I actually knew about him, with the whole Thanos and all that. That like
What
Drax is a running joke, which in Guardians 1, I was like, okay, that's fine, whatever. But after everything after that for me with Drax, it was just an eye roll because they're like, let's see how dumb we can make this character.
But you've made a supreme point here that I really got to stick with is this. Take a look at this. Look at Thor in the first Avengers. He was epic Thor.
Oh yeah, in the first Thor movie,
And Age of Ultron, he was epic Thor.
kind of.
No,
Because they were
he
doing
didn't
the
slide
whole
into
who
silly.
can pick the hammer up, and
But he hadn't slid into fat. I'm eating pizza. You know, look at me, Star Lord. He hadn't started that shit yet. Now, here's the thing with Ultron, and you guys aren't gonna like what I say about Ultron, but I'm gonna say this. No, I didn't love it. If you read my blog at the time,
I'm the only one who reads your blog.
I had a lot. Jeffrey Thorne read my blog. I told you that he was
Me and Jeffrey Thorne.
He's the Green Lantern writer currently, or no, X Force.
Yeah.
Anyhow, here's the thing. Ultron, legitimately, when he comes out and he says there's no strings on me, absolutely chilling.
Yeah, I'll give you that one.
Chilling scene. I remember seeing it on the trailer and I was like, oh my God, Joss Whedon is about to knock this straight out the park.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Ultron is the absolute coolest, one of the coolest villains.
The sun's getting low, big guy.
Listen, they could have made that the Terminator of Marvel.
But they didn't. They made him a wisecracking robot with a heart.
Here, but let me go back to this and say this. Some of the most heartfelt pieces of character and story developed in Age of Ultron. You've got the Vision, who Paul Bettany turns out to be just an enormous... Who thought the Vision would ever be visualized? And he pulled it off with just... I mean, he's perfect.
Paul Bettany's awesome.
Look, Joss Whedon did his job. He brought a character in that I bet you they didn't want to use the Vision.
I mean, I don't think. I think the way they were using the Infinity Stones, gems, like they needed to.
I'm gonna even tell you.
So
I hate to say this. I loved Quicksilver. I loved him.
Yeah.
I loved that character.
We didn't get enough of him.
We didn't. I loved how
Aaron Taylor Johnson was great.
Aaron Taylor Johnson is an amazing actor.
Yeah, I love that.
Again, going to the Age of Ultron, there's no doubt Age of Ultron, because you could add the whole divide, the start between, well, no, actually started in the Avengers. I was about to say that kind of division between Cap and Tony.
Yes.
But we get the callback in Endgame, where it's like you said, we'll fight together and we'll lose. And I told you we lost. We'd lose. Yes, it absolutely puts. And again, I don't despise the movie like Brian does, but I still think it's one of the weaker ones. But it absolutely brings some very strong stuff in, very important stuff. You got the Hulk leaving at the end of it, so it's not without its.
You also have the Hulk fighting the Hulkbuster armor.
I'm just saying, I'll watch Land Aquaman before I'll watch this one.
That's you're just trying to be funny for your podcast now.
No, I'm.
You watch the second Aquaman?
No, the Land Aquaman.
No, he's talking about Black Panther.
It's the same movie. They're the same exact movie.
Ultron and Black Panther.
No. Black Panther and Aquaman. The first Aquaman movie.
I would.
That's why I call Black Panther Land Aquaman.
I would tend to agree. Black Panther's so much cooler than Aquaman, though. Come on now.
That's why it's so mean to say.
Come on now. I mean, but I'll say this: without Age of Ultron, you don't. And as a writer, let me add this: I had a buddy of mine that was looking at one of my scripts about 3 or 4 months ago, and he was like, "Man, this is a great script. This is great characterization." He's like, but you know what? I don't see any fights. I don't see any. There's nobody. There's conversations and there's emotions here and there's emotions there, and I'm getting some background stuff here. But where's the boom bit? We call it in the studio.
Did you write Superman Returns?
Well, listen to what I'm going to say. He said, "Where's the boom bit, D?" And it slightly offended me because I was like, okay, this is an artist and I get it. He wants to draw fighting. And I said, listen, man, you're going to find something that I do in all the stories I write. I set the characters up so that you're rooting for them, rooting against them. You care about what's going to happen to them. You want to know, where did that guy come from, or why is he doing that? And then when the action shows up, you're in the story now. And to me, that's what they did with Age of Ultron. They got us to buy into the vision. They got us to buy into the oncoming kind of tumult between Tony and Steve. Even Hawkeye was kind of in the mix of that. They got us to feel for Quicksilver when we lost him. Mm-hmm. They established the romance between Wanda and Vision. Falcon played a big role in Age of Ultron. He played a more prominent role. It was one of those stories that had to be told to move things along. I agree. They dropped the ball on Ultron. They did. But Ultron is still a hell of a villain that it should still be there. He should still be addressed. And they should not have changed Tony to the creator of Ultron. They should have brought in Bill Foster. Bill Foster and Hank Pym. Yeah. So. Yeah. But anyway.
But yeah, no, I agree. Like, so, but then we get Civil War, which was another huge moment. It brought Spider-Man into the MCU.
A banger.
Then we get Doctor Strange, which was way better than it deserved to be, but it still was it's just in the middle, you know? It's not mid.
It was weird.
You ever heard the term
piss? It was weird.
Yeah, you guys ever heard the term piss fart?
No.
You know when you take a piss and you fart and it's like, it's kind of relaxing.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Doctor Strange could have been better. I think Doctor Strange was like First Avenger to me.
Okay.
They nailed the casting.
Oh, yeah. Skilliby Bingerbill is a great choice to play Doctor Strange.
He was great. He was awesome. The first 20 minutes of Doctor Strange is...
When they nailed like his origin with his hands getting crushed, all that stuff, like going to Tullamore Dew to find some whiskey was fun.
But I did not like the Bally's fitness spa where all the magicians visit and work out at. That was awful.
You didn't like Tai Chi Central?
That was awful.
Hermitage.
Yeah, Tullamore Dew. That's what I said.
Yeah, that was awful.
So then we get Spider-Man Homecoming, which is a divisive film, apparently. There's a lot of people who don't like Iron Man Boy as Spider-Man. I like Tom Holland. I thought Tom Holland did the most balanced version of Spider-Man with the three between Tobey and Andrew and Tom. I think he gets Peter really well, especially young Peter. And he gets that like early cocky Spider-Man really well.
I think the cockiest and the best at being cocky Spider-Man was Garfield.
Oh yeah, when
Garfield.
He was like, "Oh, you're
absolutely.
stuck to a car now."
Yeah.
Like that scene where he's like, "Oh, whoops."
Yeah.
Oh, he was webbing him.
Yeah, he's got the best organic cocky.
Yes. So agreed.
Tobey Maguire is great. So is what's his name? The young boy, Tom Holland.
They're all
Tom
this
Holland's
is why
a bit whiny.
The third Spider-Man was so good because we had all three of them and they were all awesome. But yeah, then we have Thor Ragnarok, which is the beginning of the end for the Thor character.
Yep. I did not like it.
A lot of people didn't like it. I
like Chris Hemsworth. I root for Chris Hemsworth. I love him. I don't know why he doesn't get more credit.
So are you sure there's something you don't want to tell me about that text I sent you earlier?
Shut up, you asshole. I do. I love that dude.
Yeah.
I even watched.
He seems like he's a good guy.
I even watched these low-level action movies that he stars in.
Extraction.
Oh my!
They're both
No,
really
Extraction.
good.
Oh, love Extraction.
We reviewed both of them.
He's an action star.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, he is.
He's funny.
Yeah, he is.
So like he's legit funny.
Yeah.
Did you see him in Vacation, the one with Ed Helms, like where it's like Rusty grown up taking his kids on a trip?
No,
it's a bad movie, but Chris Hemsworth is awesome in it. So then we get Black Panther, Land Aquaman, where Ryan Coogler just did not stick the landing, like at all.
Okay, let's talk about why.
Because just like in Aquaman, so it's the inverse of Aquaman, right? In Aquaman, you have the outsider showing up, and they're like, he's like, "Hey, I'm your king," and they're like, "Nah, we got this guy here, Ocean Master. He's the one who's in charge. You have to prove to us why you're king." In Black Panther, Killmonger shows up with Claw dead, and then the dude from Get Out is like, "Hold on, let me stir my tea. You're the king now." And they just abandon T'Challa immediately. Like, just everybody turns on him. Like, it made zero sense.
Couple things about, I'm going to point out to you to show you that you're kind of incorrect here. Mm-hmm. Okay, one, Wakanda's a household name, so you got to be wrong at that point, because that film established that he stuck the landing.
There's no techno jungle.
But listen, are you disagreeing with me? Wakanda's a household name.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Well,
that
okay,
Wakanda's
so let's talk
about name, but like
let's talk
the
about
CGI is horrible. The story was pedestrian at best.
But let's talk about a character. You know, we talk about how Iron Man was nobody knew who Iron Man was
before 2008. I will contend, not one single comic book fan said Iron Man is their favorite character.
That's right.
So, but here's the thing: when we got T'Challa in Civil War, he was a fucking badass. He was awesome.
He was.
And then in his own movie, he was just kind of mid.
Well, you have to tell where their character comes from.
And Michael B. Jordan killed it. Like,
no, he didn't. See, this is okay. I actually, D, I'm going to let you take over, and I'm going to swing back around, because here's the thing. I'm kind of protective of this movie because I know it didn't end well. The action wasn't great. I don't think Ryan Coogler was an action director, so he didn't really understand how to deliver that. But,
well,
like I said,
I will say this.
Go ahead.
In this, like you're in that regard, so the Russo brothers don't direct their own action. They have the stunt coordinator. His name is escaping. This is why Civil War and the Winter Soldier, the action is so good. They don't do the directing of that action. It's someone else that actually directs that action.
I was not aware of that.
I was today.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, they obviously have, some input. I don't mean that they're just totally hands off.
No. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Black Panther. Yeah, with Black Panther, one, you have sadly one of the most underrated actors. And he doesn't. He sadly passes away.
Yeah.
So his characterization of when we first see T'Challa in Civil War, I mean, amazing.
Amazing.
I liked him just as much.
I didn't know he had that in him. I'll admit, when he was first cast, I was like, who's this little brother that played Jackie Robinson? I was like, okay, I'll go with it.
Thurgood Marshall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, you got to admit, playing Jackie Robinson and then playing Thurgood Marshall, definitely good practice for playing Black Panther.
Pretty solid.
It's a solid.
I will say this.
Like for the character acting,
I will say this.
Good.
Yeah. So as far as Michael B. Jordan, I will disagree a little bit with the fact that everyone says he killed it, and then actually watching it over. And again, I've always thought this. I mean, his aura is on point. Just the energy he brings and the charisma he brings in every scene. It's just that I'm not always believing what he's saying. And again, this is not something I've always mentioned, but because he has the physicality, he has the look, and just even standing there, he looks menacing, and I believe that. But sometimes, when he was delivering his lines, it wasn't as strong as I wanted it to be. But with Black Panther, just because, and again, this is where we have to dissect, Wakanda being a household name versus did it stick the landing? Captain Marvel made over $1 billion, a year later.
Right.
Captain Marvel wasn't a good movie.
But I think we can also agree that Captain Marvel made that money because of the momentum of the franchise.
Well, because they made you think it was required
because it was
for what
the
was
way they
happen in
the
Endgame.
way they did it. They said
War.
they
What was in between
basically
them?
they basically tried to thoroughly hint that it was necessary to see Captain Marvel
right
before you see Endgame, because if that wasn't the case, Captain Marvel would have been a flop.
Right.
Like,
well,
it wouldn't have been the flop of the Marvels. Don't get me wrong, but
no.
Because even then there were still the good.
No.
No.
Let me go back to Land Aquaman and say this. I think that's funny because I do see what he's saying. I do see the parallel.
It's okay because I call Aquaman underwater Black Panther. So
that's cool. But I'm going to say this about Michael B. Jordan, a big Michael B. Jordan fan, but he was a little bit too Boys in the Hood for me in a role that should have been a little bit more. It should have had a little bit more. It should have had a little bit more
nuance to him too.
Yeah.
Yes.
You don't show up at the throne room of the Black Panther and go, "What's up, Auntie?" You cut that shit out. That irritated me because I saw a lot of people reacting to that, especially young black people in the audience, like, "Oh yeah, he gangs." Come on, man. We're dealing with a sophistication level of black people that's way above that. They would have snatched a knot in his ass immediately.
They would have kicked him out of their ethno state.
But here's what I say about Black Panther, and here's why it's superior to Aquaman, and why you don't forget it. First of all, you got a lot of white and black people and people of other colors who haven't seen a black spectacle like this. You've never seen it before. You had a well-designed costume for the Black Panther.
Oh, amazing!
Yes,
it was amazing.
For the Black Panther.
What's that?
For what they did with Wakanda.
Yes.
As far as making it breathable and a livable, I liken it to Avatar. I enjoyed Avatar, not the Last Airbender, but the James Cameron Avatar.
Yes, no, I know what you mean.
Where
yeah,
he has to
I enjoyed the movie, but the plot is meh. What I remember about Avatar is the world they created.
Oh, my
goodness. With Black Panther, it's similar, even though I remember the characters of Black Panther more. That's not what I'm saying. But like Black Panther is very similar in the sense of I actually wanted to see more of Wakanda than we actually got.
Me too.
Because I thought that was so well done. The costuming, just the different, the different tribes or the different sects of individuals that were there.
Yes.
Just how everyone was unique.
Yeah.
And that, again, that you can't take that away from that movie in the sense of what they built.
I even like the ship.
Yeah,
the airship that he goes into Wakanda.
It's the design,
yeah, it was dope.
So I liked all that. I liked how some people rode rhinos, some people rode spaceships. That was really cool. I liked the costume. I liked how the costume was like a functional thing and had like powers added to it, like with the whole kinetic storage and everything.
The dude from Lord of the Rings was
Yeah,
great.
Bilbo Baggins was awesome.
The casino scene was great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was a lot of nice.
Lupita is fantastic. I love her.
Forget about it.
If she's in a movie, it's a must see for me.
Yeah, but what I also liked is they did not bang you over the head with black this, black that. It was just this is what it is.
I mean, the only two Claw, Andy Serkis, and
That was a waste.
And Bilbo Baggins. Yeah, there's a total waste of Claw.
That was a waste. Claw's a good villain.
Yeah, it's this whole this is the whole thing. Like in Batman '89, it started where they killed the Joker in the first movie.
What was the name D of the was it the spiritual plane? That was dope,
right? Where he went and talked to Mufasa in the sky.
Was it M'Baku?
Talk to his ancestors.
Yeah. I mean, that's all stuff you don't forget.
Dude, and Winston, what's his name?
Warrior,
who played M'Baku was fucking awesome too.
The Warrior Falls.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, those are places from the comic.
The problem with the Warrior Falls is everybody on the cliff looked like they were in Tecmo Bowl.
That's okay.
It's just like this is a $300 million movie. It should look like a $300 million movie.
Well,
I will also say this.
Well,
and again, as we're
Guardians wasn't a $300 million movie.
It didn't have great. So. Well, I'm saying Marvel's effects are not that.
Oh no, they started going down after Guardians.
But
absolutely.
What was? Let's go back to Iron Man. The first Iron Man. Remember when he's walking towards this village?
He's in the suit. He's in a practical suit.
That looks totally
that's why it looks
CGI.
bad. But he was in a practical suit.
But it's a suit.
So you agree it looked bad, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
but also,
and it's 2008 too.
That was 2008. So that's an independent film.
Or
that
7.
Not an MCU funded.
I think that you have I think that you weren't ready for the success that Black Panther.
No, I was super happy that Black Panther made $1 billion.
And again, going back, so. And again, one of the things I will say that it didn't, and then again, as we move forward, is that Black Panther, to me, it did not have again, there were some funny moments in it, don't get me wrong.
Yeah. But
it did not have that overwhelming, a joke every other minute type thing that we start to see more and more as things go forward in the MCU from 2018 or 2017, 2018 to now, where it's almost like everything has to be a joke. And
and if you go
even in movies where,
go ahead.
I was going to say, even where in movies where it works, like for them, like I say Infinity War, for example. So we get Infinity War, which I was surprised they had the balls to do what they did with Infinity War, just because I'm so used to studios playing it safe. And you still have moments in Infinity War.
Thanos was right.
You still have moments in Infinity War where one of my favorite scenes is cut by this, where Gamora tells Peter that she knows something, and if Thanos gets her, kill her.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "Swear on your mother."
Yes.
And then he swears and they kiss. It should have been the end of the scene, but instead, what do we get? We get a moment that's meme worthy with Drax standing there being John Cena, or trying to be John Cena.
Right.
But it completely killed the momentum of that scene between those two characters for me.
Yeah.
And this is what we've been starting to get more and more. You go back to 2014, when you're talking about the start of the podcast, where you get not Civil War, but you get Winter Soldier. Yes, there are funny moments in that. Like I made some eggs for you all if you all eat that kind of stuff. When he's talking to Falcon's talking to Black Widow and Cap.
Yeah.
Yes, it's fine to have funny moments in a movie, but it got to the point as we get going back to the Guardians template, where I think they used a lot of, just because Guardians was super successful. I mean, yes, the Avengers had some funny moments in it too, but again, it's as far as the percentage of moments and letting scenes that are serious and dissecting the comedic moments from those scenes that you need to hit the emotional highs or those emotional points with the characters, as you were talking about, Brian.
Right.
Getting those moments without having to have a joke at the end of it.
It's also because James Gunn wants to be subversive and weird, which is why I'm not looking forward to his Superman. But all right, let's just kind of bust through here. So we get the end of the Infinity Saga, right? We get Infinity War, Captain Marvel, Endgame, Far From Home, and that's the end of phase. What is it? 3, 2? I don't even know. I lost track. We're on phase 470
because we're about to head towards territory that I hate.
So, take out Captain Marvel. Infinity War they made the Avengers the bad guys, and I love it. Thanos was right. Everything that he was trying to do was to protect life. So life did not become so big that it, swallowed itself whole.
I don't think Thanos was right. I think he had the right idea about what the universe needed, but it's not up to him to make the decision.
Well, but he didn't. He just needed to snap. It was non-discriminate who blipped away.
No, I'm just saying it's not for him to decide what time something happens. It's not.
I mean,
that's why he's a villain.
Yeah,
this is where we miss having death. This is where not having death as part of that story,
right?
Whispering in his ear.
True.
Yeah,
like
true.
That's why he came across as like, it's like the little kids who watch episode 1, 2, and 3 first. They look at Darth Vader as a sympathetic character, not the most terrifying motherfucker on the planet.
True.
Or in the galaxy far, far away.
especially according to dogs, he is.
That's true. These videos are crazy, but you get this. Then we get into Endgame, and like,
didn't like it.
Endgame is where the woke stuff started. When you had the little A-Force all-girl cameo, where it's like, well, who's going to help you? And they're like, we will. And then here's the funny thing about that: they're all like, we're going to help you. And then she literally flew off by herself without any help from any of them.
You know how much I said it. I probably said it really loud when I saw that scene in the theater. I was like, "Come the fuck on!" I was like, "Seriously."
There was a groan in the movie theater when I saw it.
Well,
yeah. So
my take on this is that they never should have done Carol Danvers Captain Marvel to begin with.
No,
they should.
No, they should not.
Carol Danvers should have been introduced in the second Captain Marvel. But they should have done Marvel, and it would have made $1 billion and still be making it right now.
You know who should have flown through Thanos' ship in Endgame? Vision.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah,
That the pop Vision would have got, like, it'd been like,
yeah.
You already talked about John Cena. It'd been like when John Cena showed up at WrestleMania after tearing his pec, and he was supposed to be out for 6 months, and he was out for 3, and they're like that crowd went nuts.
Well, but let's just face it. We were all having a collective nerdgasm at that point anyway. So Endgame was going to make its money.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when Cap was wielding Mjolnir and he said Avengers Assemble and then pulled Mjolnir to him.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. It got a little dusty in there. I was like, you just said Avengers
Did you have your special? Do you have your special sock with you?
No, I had my Wolverine fuck bucket.
But
no. Did you have your Hulk hands and you smashed debating?
Smashed 100%. You were right there.
But the problem with this is, why did you build all this to destroy it?
Well, okay, so
because there's 8 million. You know this, and D knows it. There's 8 million more cool stories in the Marvel universe that you can tell.
At least.
Yeah.
This right here. So. This right here, Brian. Yeah. This is where I have the issue with the MCU is go back to Ant-Man. Like you said, what did you say, Tudor? It was self-contained. It's not, everything does not have to be the end of the world.
Like, it was part of the larger universe. He went to the Avengers compound and stole what he needed to steal.
Yeah.
He beat up Falcon.
Yeah.
And then
that was great.
And then it ends with Falcon looking for him, like, in that end credit scene. That's how you do the interconnectedness. Not, oh, well, we need 3 characters from this movie to be in this.
This is the thing, and I'm going to hearken it to something else from outside of the MCU. It's as if they wanted to remind us every movie, hey, we're all connected. Hey, we're all connected. It goes back to what DC did.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it goes back to what DC did, is in the fact that when, again, you can say what you want about it, the Arrowverse on CW with the Flash and Arrow. Why did they stop those shows, and why are they stopping Superman and Lois? It's because they're doing movies of these characters, and they don't think fans and people are they don't think we can differentiate between the two. That's what it is. And it's the same thing. This is why we get dumbed down movies. It's not just the MCU. It's not just DCEU. It's Star Wars. It's these TV shows where they dumb down the stories. They dumb down the characters because they don't think I'll take the writers aren't good That's number one. Two, they're a lot of times, not all of them, but a lot of times they're peddling agendas. And
Yeah.
number three, they think people are stupid, so they think, again, going back to what I said earlier jokingly, they're going to give it to us and then we're going to assume it. We're not going to ask questions. We're not going to raise concerns. We're just
Right.
going to consume,
Well,
consume,
but
consume.
then when
And
we
that's
do
over
raise
these last 10
questions
years,
and show concerns, we get called
last
names.
yeah. And these last 10 years, Brian's, from when you all started this podcast to now,
I like how you
this
said
is what
Brian's.
this is the direction of, and again, it's not just movies or TV shows. And you all know this, it's in comic books, in my wheelhouse, in video games. It is everywhere where they dumb down the message, or not the message, they dumb down the writing, they dumb down the nuances of character development
Because they want
for
to put
a
a
quick
message in
pop.
there.
But D, this
Yes.
brings us oddly enough full circle, and I do this all the time, and I hate myself for doing it because I love Brian. But when Marvel went woke, when we started this, I was furious.
So
I was
we're talking
irate.
about the all new, all different books.
I was
They
irate,
were
Okay.
and and at the launch, they did not have a Black Panther book.
they didn't ever have a Black Panther book in all new, all different.
They didn't. They soon came and had Ta-Nehisi Coates,
But
book.
that was not.
Yeah, it was an afterthought.
Yeah.
It was an afterthought,
And you were so excited for Ta-Nehisi Coates.
and it was terrible.
You were like, I'll never forget this, Darryl. He was like, what was that book? My brother's whatever that he wrote that I read, which was fine.
Yeah.
He's a good essayist.
He's a journalist.
Yeah, he's I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I like reading essays by journalists. But I'll never forget because we both got the first Black Panther book, and I was like, I'm reading it, and I'm going through it. I'm like,
Boring.
this is horrible. This
The
might
art
be the
was
worst
good.
comic. No, the art was bad. The first artist was bad because it was a different artist on the second book. But I was like, oh my God, Brian's going to like this and we're going to talk about it. He's going to get so mad at me and he's going to call me names.
And I didn't like it.
And then he's like, we sit down and he's like, Daryl, he's like, did you hate this? I'm like, yeah. He's like,
It was trash.
it was trash.
It was trash.
It was trash, America. It was trash.
But the bigger thing of the Marvel all new, all different was they were bringing Blade back, but they were bringing Blade in as a woman, and I took exception to that. I'm like,
Are you serious? See, I don't.
It was his daughter.
I did not know this.
But it was
Yes.
like this.
Oh,
she was the stand-in, like this daughter that no one ever knew about. That they're like, oh yeah, she's been around for
Or
years.
asked for.
Yeah.
Well,
Definitely didn't ask for.
here's the thing. Why, when you have famously ignored this character,
Who started this whole thing for Marvel?
and now all of a sudden you're gonna sex swap? I mean, I like female characters. Marvel has great.
Misty Knight is amazing.
Man, I gotta give my man a pound. Misty Knight is everything.
Misty Knight, the woman who played Misty Knight in Luke Cage, was fine.
She was fine. Now
What's her name?
I forget,
I
but
don't
she was
remember, but
beautiful.
She was fine. Oh my God, I was in love.
Yeah.
She was
I
beautiful,
Still am,
but
she played a judge in some stupid show after that, and I watched it just because of her.
But the long story short, Brian and I kind of came to blows, and with fans, people that were listening to the show, because I had this indignant tone. I was, and man, I know this is entertainment, and sometimes people listen for indignant tones and are entertained by that. But at that point, I was just upset that Brian didn't understand why I was upset, And sometimes it takes time for people to see these kinds of things. But, I think all of that has got us where we're at right now.
So, and this leads us directly into movies like Black Widow, where instead of Taskmaster, they have Taskmistress. And they introduced the character that was supposed to be Taskmaster, and you're supposed to believe this guy is Taskmaster, and then they make it one of the former Black Widows, where they literally CGI'd her head onto the body because that's how far they went with the character. The dude who played the shield agent that turned on her was supposed to be Taskmaster. And then okay, so I saw Black Panther, or not Black Panther, I saw Black Widow because it was the last movie that we could see in the theater before COVID like really shut shit down. I never saw Shang-Chi. I never saw the Elementals. No Way Home. Hold on.
This motherfucker said the Elementals.
What? Oh, Eternals. Sorry. Elementals or something else.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway,
It was an indie comic
yeah,
book.
you're right.
Yeah.
So, Spider-Man No Way Home is awesome. Doctor Strange Multitude of Madness is super uneven.
He just said the multitude of
yeah,
madness.
I do it on purpose. And then
Always does that.
Thor Dumb and Blunder was the penultimate movie that I saw, because the last Marvel movie I saw was Guardians 3, and I will not go.
I liked Guardians.
I mean,
3.
I guess Deadpool and Wolverine. I don't really
I did
count
too.
that as a. You liked what?
I liked Guardians 3.
Yeah, it's fun. It's dumb fun.
I loved Guardians 2.
Here's the problem with Guardians 3, though. They needed to pick between the animals and the kids. They didn't need both. Like,
Also, I thought the High Evolutionary was too close to Kang.
well, they should have recast him as.
Wait a
Kang
minute. We
with-
did not discuss Kang.
Are
we not there yet?
We're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
So okay, so there was Thor: Dumb and Blunder. I didn't watch Wakanda Forever because they didn't recast Black Panther with John David Washington, and yeah,
That would have been a good pick.
right.
Yeah, that would have been a strong pick.
I've been a fan of his since
I
Ballers.
tell you what, though. I tell you, Wakanda Forever, I've not revisited Wakanda Forever since I saw it at the movie theater, but I will say this. Goddamn Marvel, they nailed Namor. They nailed him.
So
Didn't
it's
they
funny
get
you
him-
say
didn't
that,
they get
Brian.
him, didn't they dry his back off as like his weakness? Like I'm pretty sure like they shot
So-
a fan at him and he got weak.
You can say what you want to say, but
So-
I would love to see
So
this
hold.
Namor.
I
Sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry, D.
I will say this about Namor. Before the movie, I thought like this was going to be ridiculous
Uh-huh.
as far as who Namor was, and just everything I saw. And I watched the movie again. I haven't revisited it. You know, there was a lot of things I didn't like about that movie. Surprisingly, Namor, based on my pre-existing assumptions, he was not one of them. I think I told you, Brian. I told my brother. I was like, Namor is probably the best part of the movie for me, or not probably. He was the best part of the movie
Yeah,
for
me
me.
too.
I haven't visited it, but there's no need to revisit it. But wasn't it?
It's such a
Wasn't
smart
his name
ass.
Namor?
That's stupid
Namor,
shit.
yeah.
Namor.
That's stupid shit that people
Yeah.
were saying before the movie.
Su nombre Namor.
No, they were just trying to come up with
Anyway.
shit.
No,
You
no,
know what I mean?
I'm raising around. Okay, here's the thing. After seeing Thor: Dumb and Blunder, I was like, I'm done. I'm done with this shit. I'm not going to see another one of them. And
Which cracks me up because you used to consume a lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
bullshit.
I mean, I was because I like to read comics, and
Yeah.
I don't mind if I read a bad comic because I want to I'll find something I like in it. I mean, hell, I read Miles Morales for years.
You like kid, boy, teen superheroes.
I like Spider-Man.
But
I like all versions of Spider-Man.
But you do like kid versions, like
Well, I mean, like Teen Titans.
sidekick.
Yeah, I love the sidekicks. I mean, Legion of Superheroes was my favorite book for a long time. X-Men is one of my favorite books of all time.
I grew up on Legion.
Yeah.
Mike
So-
Grell's Legion.
Dude, Mike Grell's Legion. So
Yes, sir.
But no, so I love Paul Rudd. I actually like Ant-Man. I got the whole when they did the whole new run with Scott Lang where he had to get Cassie a heart and all that stuff.
I didn't read it.
It was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, his sidekick was a villain that was dressed like a bear. It was hilarious. But after Dumb and Blunder, I didn't see Wakanda Forever. I didn't see Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, so I missed that whole thing with Corey Stoltz as MODOK.
Jesus.
Oh my goodness.
Jesus.
But then I liked Guardians 3. What?
He's laughing.
The
at Corey
MODOK.
Stoltz.
The mode? Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
So when Darryl
I
showed me
I
a picture
laughed
of
out
it, I was
loud
like,
when we got
this
that.
is not real.
Yeah.
Like I didn't believe
I
it.
I laughed out. I laughed out loud when he came on
So.
screen. because it was so
Did he have like a
bad.
weird voice? Did he have like MODOK's like high pitched voice and everything too?
No, he had his regular voice.
No.
But didn't he say, "I am not a dick" or some shit like that?
Or did he
Yes,
say, I don't
yes,
have a
he
dick?
yes.
No, he
Before he died, that's what he said.
says, "I'm not a dick." And
He
it's
absolutely
like,
said that.
It's like
That's dumb.
It was
and
unreal.
They had Michael Douglas flying around with mole man sunglasses on, and it was like it's just so terrible. And here's the thing. I have a weird, you know how you have a weird villain in the Marvel universe that sucks, but he's in most of the comics you've read and you like him? That was Kang for me.
Yeah.
Whenever I saw Kang in a comic book, I was like, this motherfucker again.
Do you remember the Avengers Assemble cartoon?
Yes.
Kang in that
Yes.
is terrifying and awesome.
Yeah, he's a good character, and I thought what's his name would be entertaining as Kang.
Jonathan Majors?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he fucked everything.
Yeah, he
up,
messed
didn't
his
he?
life up.
Yeah.
So then Guardians 3, which we can agree was fine and we liked.
Loved
Didn't see the Marvels.
Didn't see the Marvel.
Apparently there was no movie between the Marvels and Deadpool 3. Deadpool 3 is fantastic.
Hilarious.
Um,
And I'm not a Deadpool dude.
yeah, so
And I adored Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool.
it's just as
And
long as
Hugh
he doesn't
Jackman
go
was
full
great.
Ryan Reynolds.
He showed some restraint.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
other than the dog
Yeah.
in Nice Pool. So
I love the seatbelt.
Come on, guys.
Oh, and of course,
come on, guy.
it
Come on,
doesn't
guys.
doesn't hurt to have some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
I mean,
it doesn't hurt having
dude,
that.
I probably say that to someone once a month. So it's my favorite. Like it might be one of my. It's my second favorite line in a movie of all time.
Can I also say this? As much shit that was made of Channing Tatum playing, that shit had me weak.
Ooh, boy, I'm about to make a name for myself.
It was killing me.
So all right,
It was killing me. It was funny.
So on the horizon, we have Captain Falcon, Brave New World, but it's from the morons who did the shitty TV show, which I affectionately refer to as Virtue Signal and the Neutered Soldier.
Let me hear D. What say you about Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV show?
I thought it. I was so excited for that because of I was so excited for that because of what we got from them in the other movies.
Yeah,
and I was absolutely crushed by what we got in the show because other than Isaiah Bradley, played by the great Carl Lumley, there wasn't much that I liked about that show. I absolutely I wanted to see more about him, and that's it because I will say this though. No, I'll take it back. There were a couple of good things I liked.
Russell was actually really good as U.S. agent.
There was some cool.
Wyatt
stuff.
Russell was, and I love that scene where they fight the what are their names?
Dora
the
Milaje.
the Dora Milaje.
Yeah.
And he was like, they weren't even super soldiers.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, and then when
Baron Zemo
when
was dope.
Bucky loses his arm. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
but
And they were
overall,
in
I
Madripoor. That was dope.
yes, that was
was
awesome
cool.
too. I was
Yes.
looking for Patch.
Here's the problem. Like Malcolm, what's his name? Malcolm Spellman
Yeah.
wrote like a race baiting piece of shit TV show. Like the fact that like you expect me to believe Falcon, like Sam Wilson, doesn't get paid by the U.S. government handsomely. For
Awful
being
lot of money.
Falcon,
Awful lot of money.
and he can't get a bank loan for having saved the world. No, that's just race baiting nonsense.
Yeah.
Here's
Right.
here's the thing.
No.
Here's the thing. When you write a story about a black character, there are certain things that could be different from a white character. It could
Sure.
be.
Sure.
But we all know that there are some black people in this universe who have good credit too.
You have good credit.
There's no. I have decent credit now, but there was a time after I got divorced where I didn't.
We've all been there.
But I mean, pick your battles, bro. Sometimes you can't.
I'm just saying,
you can't slide one in.
It was that was bad, and then his little monologue at the end, be better.
Well, maybe
getting his Joey Swole on.
Well, maybe have his family be unable to get the credit, but he gets it.
Which would have been fine. See, that right there,
Yes.
that would have been fine.
That would've been a
There's
good
no
story
problem
because
with
he
that.
can come in and take care of his family, who he's abandoned to be an Avenger.
Well, and I thought about that as it was unfolding. I did not like this. Remember the light complected female villain.
Oh gosh, she was
in
awful.
She was in
Fifth
Han
Nest.
Solo.
She's horrible. She's at Aaron.
Yeah.
She was in the Willow TV show too.
Oh God,
She's
I
an
forgot
awful
there was a
actress.
Willow TV
She
show.
is so bad. Okay, let's do this. Let's not talk about what's coming out because it's all shit. It's Thunderbolts. They're gonna ruin the Fantastic Four.
Oh,
Blade
God.
is
Yes,
never
they are.
coming out. I have zero interest in Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret War. I don't know.
but you know what I've done?
But
though?
I will say this:
yeah.
going back to what we used to see and what we're seeing now, and we haven't mentioned this, is we mentioned bad writing, but one of the things that we've noticed, and Brian and I, we talk about it all the time on the podcast. When we're talking about a show or a movie, we look at the credits of the writers that do it.
Yep.
These newer writers, their writing credits are non-existent.
Yeah.
It's like they pick these writers based on check boxes, not the quality of their work, and it's showing. And that's the frustrating thing. And you go back in time and look at some of these guys, and again, every movie, even with good writers, it's not going to hit. We know that.
Exactly.
And even with inexperienced writers, some things are going to hit, and you're going to be like, "Whoa, this was this person's first thing."
Yeah.
But it's about being consistent, and it's about a trend. And the trend is these shows and these movies are giving us writers who, let's be honest, aren't ready for what they're tasked to do. And that's, and again, in some respects, that's not fair to them.
I think there's
What'd you say, Brian?
Oh, go ahead.
I said they can't write themselves out of a wet paper bag.
Well, and I think people are doing a fair amount of networking and career climbing.
It's like Vijagade, from the comic books, who she wrote X-Men,
I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
like she got all these.
Oh, I know.
books
Yeah, I know
because
you're
of
talking about.
Visigoth or Visit.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
It's just she got all this. No, Max Visaggio.
Max Visaggio.
Well, I mean,
he or she or
whatever.
They.
Them.
Yes.
So, but no, and like that whole X office, there, it's just the diversity Olympics over there in the comic books. It's why they all suck and they have proms now. But let's hop over to DC real quick. So, because DC, we've been here for the fall of the DC EU.
Yeah.
Because Batman v Superman: Dawn of Crap came out in 2016.
Yeah.
So we've been on, other than Man of Steel, which wasn't really meant to be the opening salvo of a shared universe. We've been around for all of it. And so Batman v Superman: Dawn of Crap was like the poor man's Dark Knight Rises, Death of Superman.
You let a buffoon take the reins of your entire universe and drive it into the ground.
Are we talking about Zack Snyder?
I'm talking about the buffoonish Zack Snyder, who also...
Not Zack.
Zack
Snyder.
Who also released one of the most ridiculous Star Wars wannabe. I mean, this dude, if the story was crawling on the floor, he couldn't stomp it.
Yeah.
He couldn't catch it. He doesn't know story. Yeah. He knows visuals.
He should be a director of photography.
Oh, he definitely should.
Yeah. So
what was the Snyder? The Snyder cut was beautiful.
Darryl, what do you think about Zack Snyder?
I like his stuff. But I can also say, see, this is where I'm different from a lot. Like, I could say I love something and it's not good. Like, again, I don't care what people say. Man of Steel is one of my favorite comic book movies. I don't give a damn what people say.
And
I will say this: I 100%. But I can say this though about it: I 100% see all the issues that people have with it.
Yes,
I will say
I'm not going to defend it that
made me like the Man of Steel more.
The Snyder Cut is a totally different thing.
I know, but it made me it made me appreciate the Man of Steel.
I definitely.
No, what I'm saying is a totally different thing from the Justice League that we got, or the Justice League.
I definitely enjoy Zack Snyder's vision, but he takes away the fun of Superman, and that's
Right.
the only thing I ever complained
That's-
about.
Now, if it's a shot for
Yeah,
shot remake
and-
from something like Watchmen or 300, I enjoy the hell out
Oh
of it.
yeah, but those are shot for shot.
I also enjoyed the changes he made to the end of Watchmen and making the stupid ass
I
octopus.
did too.
So
I did. I love Watchmen.
yeah, I agree. So,
Watchmen is a thing of beauty, and I love Henry Cavill truly and honestly, but you know what would have been cool is Zack Snyder did, and I don't know if you would agree with this, D, but there's a iconic shot of Krypton on the first panel of the Superman comic book where you just see the planet and you see the rocket flying away from the planet and it explodes. What if it just began? What if the movie had just begun like that? Let's not see any of Krypton.
This is the thing.
yeah.
But
But I did
I-
like the Russell.
I
Because I like
I
Russell Crowe.
love
you like
yeah,
Russell Crowe
I love what
jumping
we
on
got of
dragons
Krypton.
and-
But I like Russell Crowe.
yeah.
Okay.
No,
got
I
you.
love what we got with Krypton, but at the same time, that would have been interesting. And yes, because of the way they did that movie, as far as doing flashbacks and get snippets here and there,
Mhm.
they could have done well. They probably wouldn't have needed to do anything like that. But again, it's going back to what you all just said. Like Superman should be more joyful. This is one of the reasons Brian and I love Superman and Lois so much.
Do you
This
watch
super
Superman
not
and Lois?
only is he joyful,
I've watched a little bit of it.
Dude, it's amazing. We call it Soups and Lolo.
but he's also a nerd dad. Like
He's-
it's
yeah.
like
It's Superman with kids.
But wouldn't Superman be a nerd dad?
Yes.
Yeah, he
And
would
it's-
definitely
it's-
be.
It's
Yes,
the
yes.
Superman, it's the
Abs-
it's the portrayal of Superman and Clark Kent that I've always wanted to see.
And
one of my favorite, again, going with favorite lines. I knew I was going to love this show where like the first you get the first episode and you have a little bit about him and then he saves this kid and it's actually almost like a reshoot of what the Action Comics where he's holding up the car.
mhm.
Yeah. And the boy says, "Cool costume," and he just has this goofy smile. He's like,
Yeah.
"Thanks, my
I
mong made
saw-
it for me."
I saw
And it
that.
flies.
Yeah.
And he
I was like,
he's like,
I'm
like
gonna
your
love
hat."
this.
And the kid goes, I like your costume. He goes, thanks, my mom made it, and then takes off. But I will say this
Yeah.
is it is so creatively balanced because they don't take away from Clark or Superman to lift Lois up. Lois is in every
Yes.
way his equal, like she is in the comics, like she should be. And the way they work together, they're a loving relationship that you do not see. There's this great scene in season 3 where Jonathan gets punched by his girlfriend's dad because he stole Jonathan's truck. And then Lois goes over there and he pulls a gun on her. The guy pulls a gun on Lois.
I love the scene.
And then Clark, not Superman, Clark goes to the diner and finds this guy. And he's like, you need to apologize.
Clark
you need
needs
to
to
say,
quit chasing people down in diners.
well, that 100%.
Superman, too.
Yes. Yep. So, well, and
It wasn't
it's-
Rocky.
It's reminiscent of this, right? And so
Yeah.
the guy stands up and he's like, oh, like, and Clark's like, we need to go outside. I don't want to do this in front of your daughter because she's a waitress there. And the guy pushes him and he's just nothing, doesn't move or anything. And then the guy goes to throw a punch and he takes him down. He's holding the guy down by his neck onto the counter. And you just see, and it's just his thumb and his forefinger, right? And everybody in the diner is like, whoa, what is going on? And the guy cannot move. He's trying, and he's like, you know, and Clark leans down and he's like, if you ever come near my wife again, I'm going to come visit you. And it was such a great scene because it's so reminiscent of Superman 2 when he gets his powers and he goes back. But instead of it being a revenge thing, it's a protector. And it's the most Superman thing he did.
Oh, but we have to add this part when he hears about it and he's about to walk out. Lois says, "I don't think this is a job for Superman," and then Clark says, "He's not going," which was incredible.
You should definitely watch it. Like,
D, let me ask you a question. Are you, and I can't remember this, I guess you are. You're a comic book reader, right?
Yeah, not in the last few years. I haven't. But again, like back in the day, I was,
I think
like I
Brian-
would say, growing up.
I think
And then Brian,
knows
he got
this.
me into Miles Morales. I
think-
remember he kept saying. So this is a funny thing.
Yeah.
when he would talk about Miles Morales, like when it first came out in the Ultimates, that Ultimates universe, he's like, dude, you should read this. I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna read. And I don't know if I said it like this, but my sentiment was, he's just Spider-Man, but he's black. Like, I don't want to read this stuff.
You actually said,
like,
I'm not going to read a token Spider-Man book.
And I understood that fully. I was so irate when they made him. I hated the fact that he existed. But I read those first 5 or 6 issues, and they were good.
Are amazing.
They were good.
And then they turned him into Peter Parker.
Yeah.
So,
but the reason I
had the same thing, Brian.
What's that?
I same thing. I finally read it, and I told Brian, I was like, all right, I actually like this.
Those 5 or 6 issues were great. But here's why I asked you that. I wanted to know if you had read All-Star Superman ever.
Well, yeah, I actually have this on my shelf.
Oh yeah. Oh, thank you. All right. We what is Robert? Do you ever watch Robert Meyer Burnett? And he goes, I see we park our shuttles in the same shuttle bay.
That's funny.
The All-Star Superman is the definitive depiction for me of Superman. I love Superman. It gives me goosebumps how much I love the character.
John Burns Man of
Steel?
No, I go with Grant Morrison's All-Star.
I feel like
Superman.
I heard you say John Burns Man of Steel.
I love John Byrne. I do love John Byrne, but Grant Morrison.
No, you're absolutely right. And here's the thing. So we're talking about All-Star Superman as a comic. There is a DC animated film, All-Star Superman, that is nearly shot for shot.
I love it.
And it's amazing. It's the second best Superman animated movie. The best being Superman versus the Elite.
Oh, yes.
That was really good.
Yeah.
Go ahead, D.
So with All-Star Superman, one of the things I remember about that is at the end, the conversation he has with Lex Luthor, where he's basically saying, like, you could accomplish so much.
Yep. Yeah.
And going back to what you said, Brian, about Superman, and I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. Like the two of my favorite comic book characters, and a lot of people call, and not a lot, a good amount of people call them boring. Superman and Captain America, because of what they stand for.
Yes, sir.
And and again, the line that I always remember when we talk about Captain America, the first Avengers, and when the scientist is talking to, like Skinny Cap or Skinny Steve, he's like, you want to kill? He's like, no, I don't want to kill anybody. I just don't like bullies.
Yep.
And the way he said that, it comes to the heart of his character. And Superman is the same way.
I can do this all day. What a great line.
Holy shit. All right. So, we need to just quickly go through this for DC. So, Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Crap. Suicide Squad. We talked about this a little bit. Fucking Joker, Jared Leto was awful. Wonder Woman. 2/3 of a great movie.
I liked Jared Leto.
Get out.
I did.
No, take your headphones off and get the fuck out.
You know what it reminded me of? You know what he reminded me of? He reminded me
of colonoscopy.
He reminded me of fucking James Cagney meets Charlie Chaplin, and it to me it was gangster. I was like,
because he was a gangster Joker.
I mean, it was I liked him,
and that was the first of 3 versions of Harley Quinn that Margot Robbie would play.
And I liked Will Smith. I did. I like Deadshot.
So Deadshot is my favorite Batman villain. Mm-hmm. It's my company is named after Deadshot.
I love Deadshot. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. It's all good. Wonder Woman, 2/3 of a great movie. The
first one?
Yeah, the first one.
Oh, yeah, it was great.
The first 2/3 are amazing, and then Zack Snyder got involved.
And what a hell of
the ending.
Oh, D, here's another thing. I think if they had let Zack Snyder direct Wonder Woman, that would have been his shit. I think that would have been...
no, he did the end. He was responsible for a lot of the end.
Boy,
when he showed...
Well...
Go ahead.
I was going to say, with the end of Wonder Woman, it harkens back to, and as you go with a couple of these other ones, Brian, you'll see, especially the MCU, it's the Light in the Sky finale with, and again, going back to everything having to be end of the world,
Yes.
just
Oh yeah.
do
Yeah.
a self-contained story. Because again, I love the one. The third act was not great. I really didn't like the final fight, but
No,
the
I hate
movie
the
the
final
first
itself,
two
fight.
I
thirds
mean,
is
I
great.
really enjoy that movie.
I do
One
too.
of the most iconic scenes of her is getting out of getting through no man's land,
Oh
where
yeah, that was
she's running
dope.
with her shield, and
Yeah.
Just like Captain
amazing.
America.
It was better than Captain America.
But I mean, it was similar.
And her commandos and
Oh, yeah.
stuff worked better
Yeah, oh, yeah,
in
yeah.
her movie than in his.
So then we have Justice League.
Batman fighting the new god.
It was stupid. Oh my god. Then we have Water Black Panther. Which I will say, Jason Momoa, he's likable as Aquaman, but he's not really Aquaman. He's Aqua Lobo.
So coming again full circle
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
underwater
right.
Black Panther. What James Wan did not do is he showed us this beautiful facade of this city, Atlantis, and told us nothing about
And it
it.
wasn't lived in. Like, it was
No.
very sterile. But
Remember
still,
they
Yeah.
were in like a little
state. Yeah.
flyer and they swam up to the city and then they go away from it. It's like,
Yeah.
there's nothing to it.
So then we have Shazam. Highly underrated. A lot of fun.
I like the first one.
Zachary Levi is great as Shazam, as the grown-up Billy Batson.
How was the second one? Never saw it.
Never saw it.
Okay.
Never saw it.
Okay.
I tried watching it. I couldn't finish it.
Birds of
So.
Prey, which is not the actual name of the movie. It's the Emancipation of One, Harley Quinn, Fantabulous, whatever. So this is the second time Margot Robbie has played Harley Quinn, but it's a different character from Suicide Squad because this is not nearly the same Harley Quinn.
I saw a
movie
little bit of it.
Is legitimate trash.
Yeah.
So
Was Ewan
That's
McGregor
garbage.
in that one?
yeah,
Yeah.
and they blow him up.
And of course, he was a misogynist
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
and hated
All right.
women.
So then we have Wonder Woman 1984, where Wonder Woman is a legit rapist.
You know
Oh,
what?
God.
It was. I think that debuted on HBO Max.
Yeah.
Like
It was
in
da-
real.
it was
Yes,
in
it
both.
did.
It was in both, but
And
it was
the first 10 minutes when she's in a race as a kid,
yeah, stupid.
Dude,
I thought that was cool.
no,
It had nothing.
No,
it should
the
not have
race-
been in that movie.
I thought
no, it should have been, and you shouldn't. No, I will heartily
Oh, wait,
disagree.
No, I'm sorry.
That
They
part-
should have had that one. They shouldn't have had the mall scene. They should have cut
Okay,
the mall
yes,
scene out.
100%.
Okay.
Yes, the mall
'Cause there
scene
were two
was not
beginnings to the movie.
necessary.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
Sorry,
and it was
I-
because the
sorry.
first 10 minutes, the
Yeah.
first 10 minutes of that movie, I was so excited. I was like, "Oh, this is going to be awesome!"
I
And then
did
we got
too.
the rest
But
of the
then
movie.
she put
so.
Steve Trevor into some other guy's body, and there's the whole consent thing. If they would have done that in a movie with a woman, where a man puts his
They
dead
never-
girlfriend in a woman's
never would have
body and
done
they have
that.
sex, that's
Can all three of us agree though? Probably some of the most intuitive, spot on casting.
oh yeah, great casting.
She's
Great
great.
She's great.
She's a
Chris Pine was great. Kristen, what's her name from Saturday Night Live, was great as Cheetah.
Gal Gadot is a bona fide movie star.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So all right, so then we have the Snyder Cut, which is very long.
Yeah, but it was
So,
good.
Then we have
I like, yeah.
yeah. So then we have the Suicide Squad, which
Also,
yeah.
going back to the
sorry.
Snyder Cut,
Yeah.
after seeing it, I don't. What is the actor's name that plays Cyborg?
Whiny crybaby bitch face.
See, I was about to say Ray Fisher.
But-
I was about to say Vic Stone.
Ray Fisher.
Ray Fisher. Yeah.
Yeah.
After seeing that, I understand why he was pissed though.
Oh yeah. When
'Cause
he was
it-
mad at Joss Whedon because they cut out all the
Yes.
cool cyborg shit.
Well, he ruined his career.
Like
Yeah, wow. So,
You know.
that movie with him as Cyborg, it actually made me want to see more Cyborg,
Mhm.
like the Snyder Cut, because it was it
we
was
saw him
it
get
was
made. Like that was cool.
Yeah.
Cyborg's a cool character.
He really is.
and
So,
the anger he had towards his father for basically blaming him for how he ended up and
Mhm.
just never being able to reconcile with his dad because of what happened.
Yeah.
I would be pissed too if I was Ray Fisher.
Yeah.
Let's be
so,
honest.
all right. So then the Suicide Squad with James Gunn, which was stupid, and they had a guy in a costume as Starro.
Starro.
Which was stupid. Cuba Starro. Black Adam did not see it.
I did.
I had fun with it. It wasn't good, but
I tell you
it wasn't
what,
good at all.
It wasn't good, but I tell you what, I liked getting a chance to see a real life version of Hawkman. That was dope.
And I do like Aldous.
And I really like
Aldous Hodge is a great actor.
Yeah,
I really like him as an actor.
Doctor Pierce Brosnan as Doctor Fate was unbelievable. Like for a minute, I was like, I hope they do a Doctor Fate movie with Pierce Brosnan because it was very, very, very compelling to me.
Again, very good casting.
Yeah.
To me
So
for
then we
this
have
one.
Shazam: Fury of the Gods, which nobody saw.
No.
The Flash, which we finally watched it when it was on Max. When it came to Max, we didn't see it in the theater. That
Up Chuck
was horrible.
Except the one part I will say that I love is just hearing and seeing Michael Keaton. Sure. I mean,
yes,
he's in the movie
like
for
that 20 minutes with him.
Minutes.
Yes. Go ahead, D. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Preach.
That 20 minutes with him in it that was the only I was smiling the whole time he was in it. And then he was not in it anymore. And it was like, oh, we have what we have.
You know what hurts my feelings too is that when that movie came out, there were all of these just cruel rumors that Michael Keaton and Tim Burton were planning to do another Batman in Tim Burton's universe. And I'm like, dude, don't play with me.
Yeah. So, then we have Blue Beetle, and that
Tim Burton would kill Clayface. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Blue Beetle was actually kind of interesting.
I liked Blue Beetle.
I really like Zolo, the kid that plays Blue Beetle, who is Miguel,
and the
Karate Kid,
yeah.
in Cobra Kai. The problem with this one is the director Angel Manuel Soto. Before the movie came out, like talked about killing Donald Trump, and like I don't care like what your politics are, but if you're from another country, you don't talk about killing our president, no matter who it is. And that wasn't okay. And then he doubled down on it.
Yeah.
And then he turned off comments on his X account like he's a little bitch.
Was this is the director
of Blue Beetle?
This was the dude that
in the whole like
Batman's a fascist.
And that turns so many people off. And here's the thing: if you don't put the Batman's a fascist line in the trailer, when George Lopez says it in the show, in the movie, there's all sorts of context to that. It's actually really funny.
It is funny.
It's really funny
when thought it was funny
when there's the context, but with the out of context, just the way people are and like the way people look at things, I get it.
But for us, for people like us who've read The Dark Knight and Batman Year
Batman
One,
is a fascist.
Yes,
100%.
Yes,
So, I didn't disagree with that at all.
Right.
But it was a funny line when he said it. And then the last
because George Lopez is supposed to be this unhinged.
He was
conspiracy.
Great.
He was hilarious.
Great. And the way he loved his truck, and then he got the new it was awesome. And then we have Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
Never saw it. Never saw it.
Never saw it.
All right, like we're almost at 2 hours.
Atlantis forever.
Atlantis forever. So I made a swimming motion. All right. We have also been around for the entirety of the fall of Star Wars.
Yep.
The Force Awakens, which I did not
might be
dislike.
too painful.
I did not dislike The Force Awakens. What?
Brian, this might be too painful to go through for me. I don't know.
No, you're fine. Suck it up, Buttercup.
Yeah, Force Awakens was like...
It was just a beat for beat.
Here's
what it was. It was a nice
Who was that DJ? Danger Mouse? Force. Remember?
Danger Mouse.
Didn't Danger Mouse? No, not Danger Mouse. I can't remember his name. He remixed the Beatles' White Album to Jay-Z. He was called Danger Mouse.
Did he get a bunch of baby oil?
Danger Mouse takes Star Wars and remixes it. That was Force Awakens.
Okay,
that's all that was.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it was the original like Episode 4 Star Wars.
Yeah.
Just
put a black guy in it. Put a white chick in it.
Yeah, just swap characters and sexes. The big problem was she beat Kylo Ren at the end. Right? She never had any kind of diversity. She never faced any of that. And then you get The Last Jedi, and they made Finn a clown.
What would I have taken? What I want to just test you. What would I have found offensive from Force Awakens?
I mean, they killed Han Solo.
No, talking about black guy offense.
He just chased the white girl around everywhere he went.
He was also a janitor.
Yeah.
He also drank out of the same trough as a motherfucking big ass cow animal.
Yeah. And that animal kicked him out of it. It's like this is a non-black person's trough.
Also, do you remember Kylo Ren?
Yeah.
Hitting him with the sword on his back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
He cut his spine open. He's dead. Like he died right there.
Really?
So,
you had to whip him like a slave in a Star Wars movie.
It wasn't like a downward whip. It was an upward slash. He was trying to disembowel him.
I'm just like, maybe I was seeing things.
So The Force Awakens made over $2 billion, right? Yeah. And everyone's like, this is an unmitigated success.
It's because we wanted it back.
That is 100% correct.
That's it.
All right, so then we get saddled with The Last Jedi by Ruin Johnson, who I will take a swing at if I ever see you in public, you motherfucker. The Last Jedi is cinema's slowest spaceship chase that ever happened.
I don't even want to talk about
it. The biggest mistake he made was he picked up directly where The Force Awakens left off, which has never happened in a Star Wars movie, which made zero sense.
Complete waste of Mark Hamill.
Yes, 100%. And they had the perfect send Carrie Fisher off looking like an angel that she definitely was not in real life into space. Instead, they Mary Poppins her back in and then are forced to use footage from Force Awakens in The Rise of Poop Walker, which all these people who are like, oh, you can't get mad that she took the name Skywalker. She is not Rey Skywalker. She is Sheev Palpatine in Rey's body because at the end he said, if you kill me, I will inhabit your body. And what did she do?
I don't even remember.
She killed him. Right? Darryl, am I wrong?
You're correct, but I blocked that from my mind.
Here's a wild.
I blocked that movie from my mind. I told you this is painful. Yeah. Like thinking Star Wars what we've gotten.
Yeah. You've both seen the little like how it should have ended, like where it was Anakin's ghost that came forward and beat him.
Yeah.
That would have been amazing. I would have probably cried.
Here's a wild theory, and you guys, I'm gonna toss it out to you, and you hit it where you will. Star Wars became jealous of the success they saw Marvel having, and they decided we are just as an expansive universe as Marvel, which they were wrong.
Well,
they were wrong.
Here's the problem.
Marvel's been around since 1961. You're not as expansive as Marvel.
But here's the problem. Kathleen Kennedy was really upset that she spent most of her career getting coffee for Steven Spielberg and George Lucas on set of Indiana Jones and things like that. And I will never forgive her being a producer on the M. Night Shyamalan Last Airbender movie. That's actually her biggest transgression. But she is actively just killing Star Wars as a brand. And, Disney bought Marvel for $4 billion.
Yeah.
They made all that money back.
Of course they did.
Disney bought Star Wars for $4 billion. They have not made $4 billion in profit from Star Wars yet. Because things like Solo lost money. The Acolyte. Darryl, did you see it came out? It cost over $200 million to make.
Yes. Well, no, 300.
I'm sorry. Over $300 million to make. They lost money.
For fucking what?
The Acolyte. Well,
no. I mean,
Leslie, I guess because Leslie Headland needs to hire good lawyers since she was Harvey Weinstein's assistant.
I
have no idea.
I could absolutely care less about Leslie Headland. The good bitch with the big glasses.
Yeah. Okay. Harvey Weinstein's former assistant.
I could care less.
She's a monster. She got women for him.
I mean, whether she did that or not, I'm sure there's a lot of people out. This is the age of Diddy. But let me say this. Star Wars got too big for its britches. I'll tell you another thing that got Marvel sent everybody into a tizzy. Remember the Universal horror?
Oh yeah.
That Tom Cruise Mummy movie was perhaps the
travesty.
That was the. I mean, he should be. Tom Cruise should be absolutely embarrassed that he fell for that.
I think he really is.
And I think everybody lost.
And he did Top Gun Maverick, though.
But he did do
Yes.
Top.
Yeah,
And the Mission Impossible movies actually get better every time out.
Oh no, that last Mission Impossible with they had the AI.
I was about to say, except for the last one.
Yeah.
Okay, I've been to the.
I didn't think it was terrible, but it stopped being where everyone was getting better than the other one. That one went downhill for me. But
they're like, oh, we're doing 2 movies, and now they're not. But, but I agree with that. But here's the thing: is the problem with Star Wars is they oversaturated their brand with the TV shows. The first season of Mandalorian was good. The second season of Mandalorian was great. The third season of The Mandalorian was trash.
Yep.
All of the Book of Boba Fett was trash.
Power Rangers.
Yeah. I didn't watch Kenobi. I didn't watch Andor.
The only reason I like the Book of Boba Fett at all is because I like that dude that plays Boba Fett, and I wanted
Tamora Morrison.
I was rooting for him.
Yeah.
And I liked the big black Wookiee.
Oh, yeah.
That motherfucker was gangster.
So
black.
With Tamura Morris, he even asked that Boba Fett doesn't talk a lot, and you're giving me these long diatribes. He's like, shouldn't Ming Na be saying this? Because Boba Fett is a character. He's a guy that's stoic, that's in the corner, that says only what's necessary.
Yeah. But let me ask you this, D and Brian. Weren't you always confused as to why they made it the Mandalorian instead of just Boba Fett from jump? Just make it Boba Fett from the jump.
I actually am glad they made it the Mandalorian because I'm not a huge Boba Fett fan.
Yeah, but you can admit,
yeah. And when Boba Fett showed up in season 2, that was the first time I was like, oh,
that was great.
This is the first time on screen, because I've read the comics and the books and everything. And it's like, this is the first time on screen he's actually earned his reputation.
And I thought it was cool how he showed up in the show.
Yeah.
And
he had the little knee rockets.
Yeah.
It was cool as shit.
And I rode with them. I listen, when the Mandalorian came out, I was like, okay, Star Wars. Okay. Every episode, I liked the music.
Mm-hmm.
I liked.
Yeah,
man, it was great. I liked
it was
Carl.
Different. Carl Weathers. Who doesn't? Our girl Gina Carano.
Some good stuff, and it was fun.
Yeah.
And then they fucked it all up
when they put Jack Black and Lizzo in an episode. It was more than so. The last season, is so bad. But
who's the comedian that I like that was on Breaking Bad?
Bill Burr.
Bill Burr.
That
episode was good too when they got those thieves together.
His story.
Yeah.
His story was
a cool character.
Yeah. Gangster.
Was so good. And again, talking about character development. And in that episode, his second, when they get him off that planet so they could, break into that to get Grogu.
Yeah.
And the conversation he has with Mando in the car.
Yes.
And then that conversation with that officer that, they were talking about Operation Cinder and how many of his and Burr was talking about how many of his partners died and his men, his buddies. And just that visceral reaction. Oh man, that was great. And again, that's
the books Alphabet Squadron, the 3 books for Alphabet Squadron, which is in the new canon. It's all about Operation Cinder, and basically the Empire's lost. They know they've lost, so they're going around and they're just destroying as many planets as they can, and just making them uninhabitable, because they're just little jerk faces. But no, what little good there is in the shows, right? We didn't even talk about the Marvel shows, which are mostly shit.
Let's finish. Let's go. Let's run out Star Wars, and then maybe we'll.
Well, I mean,
what about Andor? Did you guys like Andor?
I didn't watch Andor.
I didn't either.
Everyone I've talked
to
should watch it, but I don't know. I loved Rogue One.
I loved Rogue One. Loved it.
I tolerated Solo just because I like Alden Ehrenreich. I thought he was actually a good young Han Solo.
I like him, but I did not like that movie.
It was
I liked what's his name is Lando.
Donald Glover is fantastic.
Yeah,
I love him. Did you ever watch Atlanta?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I love it.
Oh yeah. Incredible show.
Yeah. So, and he writes. I think he wrote all of it.
Did you watch the Mr. and Mrs. Smith? He did.
It was horrible.
It was it.
Yeah, because it's the girl from the show Pen 15 on Hulu plays Mrs. Smith,
like an Asian chick.
Yeah, and it's you just buy zero of her physicality.
So it was not. So it was,
and you don't buy his physicality either. Like he's a cerebral guy.
Yeah.
It's not like the Citadel with Rob Stark. Like and what's her name? Like
I never saw that.
That was actually pretty. Like it was okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, it was pretty interrupt
you.
But no, like the shows, like just are like we just heard Star Wars Theory interview Stuart Beattie a couple weeks ago, who wrote the original script for Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh yeah, I know that.
And it was supposed to be a 3-part movie.
What's his little name on the internet? Stuart Beattie.
Oh, I don't remember his name, but
he was disguising his name as something else. Yeah. Okay.
But anyway. So, but like they went through beat for beat what the original script was because the original script leaked. It's like Colin Trevorrow's script for episode 9, which would have been amazing instead of what we got.
Painful.
And
that's what it is.
Because
it's
we
painful.
didn't get the second movie that they were supposed to get. But
what do you guys feel about some shit just shouldn't be told?
Oh, like the Joker's origin. Should never be told.
Wolverine's
origin never should have been told.
No. And I don't think we should have seen, like, how does Darth Vader and Obi-Wan meet before they have their classic finale battle?
The way Stuart Beattie worked it made sense.
Okay.
So the only little bit I saw of Obi-Wan was because I watched this guy Charlie who does deep fakes on YouTube where he's like Anakin and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, and they watch it and make fun of it like Mystery Science Theater 3000, and they showed the two of them meeting and they're making fun of Obi-Wan the whole time. They're like, "Oh, you can't even fight anymore."
What's dude's name that played Anakin?
Hayden Christensen, who's great.
Hayden Christensen.
I will admit there was a very chilling scene. It showed his face through the.
And so they did that on Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah.
And it was great the way they did it on Star Wars Rebels because they took some of Hayden's voice
and Jedi Survivor.
They took some of Hayden's voice, some of Matt Lanter's voice, and some of James Earl Jones, and they mixed it together.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it's like. And he's talking to Ahsoka, and he's like, Ahsoka. And it's like, oh my God, she suspected the whole time, but now she knows it's Anakin. And it's heartbreaking. But Rebels was great. They came back with that 7th season of the Clone Wars. The first 4 episodes, the Bad Batch stuff was great. The middle 3 episodes with the Diversity Twins was horrible, and then the last 4 episodes with Darth Maul.
Oh gosh,
some of the best, some of the best Star Wars that's ever told. The last 4 episodes of Rebels might be my favorite 2 hours of Star Wars ever.
I had COVID at some point, and I was like, I'm just gonna watch all of this. Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna. I can't move. I can't leave this room. I'm going to watch all of it. And I was like, I can't do it. It's not.
The first season of Rebels is bad. Just like the first 3 seasons of Clone Wars was bad.
What is the name of the order that is given, or the edict to kill all the Jedi?
Order 66.
I was like, that seems cool. Let's figure what this is about.
And that's visited in the Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order games. And it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, the Star Wars movies and the Star Wars TV shows that aren't animated are just not good.
But check this out. This is funny because I'm looking at your screen.
Oh, it keeps going to Dune.
Dude, I went to see the second. Well, I liked the first Dune because I'm just a Frank Herbert fan, and I read the book when I was in high school. But that second Dune, I was like, yo, this is what a sci-fi saga. That Star Wars used to have some of this energy. I thought, in fact, no, it didn't. Dune went beyond the energy Star Wars had. Dune kind of had a heavy metal atmosphere to this second one. When they went to the planet of the enemies, or the house of the Harkonnens, and they were on that gladiatorial stadium. I was like, we can still do it. We can create alien environments that are cool and interesting.
Denis Villeneuve makes
Yes.
beautiful, boring movies.
Yeah.
He did not understand Dune. I call those movies Dunk because the E doesn't have the little line in the middle of it.
Right.
Dune is my favorite book. I read it every year. I actually remember the old Scientology Center on 4th and Plum.
Yes.
I tried to get them to switch to Dune from Dianetics. So on a bet.
Right.
Anyway, like someone bet me $50 and I did it.
Right.
So I went through and I got my thetans tested. I was very highly, like, they were like, oh, you test very highly in your thetans. I was like, sweet, I'm in, except, and I pulled my copy of Dune out of my backpack. Can we do this instead of Dianetics? So,
The ending was very ham-handed on Dune too.
Here's the problem with Dune 2. Cheney had a baby.
Yeah.
And it got killed. Jessica had a baby who killed the Baron.
Yeah.
And the Fedaykin were not fundamental or reformer Fremen who wanted to change the way the Fremen were. The Fedaykin were the fighters of Muad'Dib who
were trained by Paul.
of the Bene Gesserit, trained by Paul and Jessica. Jessica didn't go crazy and become abomination herself by listening to the baby in her stomach.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul was fighting every step of the way to get to fighting the outcome that was inevitable. Every time he made a different step, he made it worse. Like, he's not a white savior. He never was. He is the bringer of death to the universe for the Butlerian Jihad. But it's also Leto 2 can follow the golden path and become the tyrant that brings humanity back to prominence.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that being said,
yes, that's another.
Those movies were shit.
Yeah.
They looked great. They looked like they should look, but they are not the story
the
of
still
Dune,
suits
so.
to me when they were jumping
I-
down from.
Yeah, that was dumb.
I love that shit.
No.
I loved it.
Anyway,
Yes.
I really no, hold on. You got your say. I did not. I wasn't a fan of the first Dune movie, and I did like the second one. Like I told, I would have loved the second one if I hadn't read the books. Like if I didn't read the book, I would have loved it.
That. Yeah.
So there were issues. All the issues that Brian pointed out, I had those same issues with it, and that's why it definitely took a point away, at least a point or so away from what I would have given it if I had never read the books.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm going to tell you. I don't think Timothée Chalamet.
actually, I liked him as well.
I didn't like Timothée Chalamet as much as I should have as the star, and I don't think this is another movie where what's his name, but Jason Momoa was. He should not have been picked for that.
He was Lobo.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
anyway, I digress.
yeah. So all right. So I mean, but this is the type of thing. Like, they made it woke. They didn't understand the Fremen. They made the Fremen women these fighters who
didn't understand Cheney.
That's not what they were. He did not understand Cheney at all. Like the fact that the first movie opens with a monologue from Cheney asking about who their next oppressor is going to be, and then it goes to the face of Paul. Paul woke the Fremen and exploited the prophecy to wake this sleeping giant. But the Fremen people are a monolith. Like, that's a bad thing. Like the way they were was like, he brought them out of that. And you know, it was just like you had the old desert fundamentalists and you had the reformer young. It was very communist China.
Well, I mean, you've read the book plenty of times, so Frank Herbert was.
I actually just read the first 4 again.
Yeah, I mean, Frank Herbert and Tolkien were very much into political systems and this, that, and the other. But going back to Star Wars, I wish Star Wars would take a break. Mm-hmm. Okay, take
100%.
Take 5. You know what I mean? Take 5 years, maybe even take 10 years.
10. Okay, decade. It's got to go away for a decade.
Yeah, take 10 years. Get some people involved that not only love Star Wars but understand history and mythology. because the one thing that any good Star Wars series has to have is a sense of mythology and civilization.
Yeah.
And I think you don't have to stay in this era of the Skywalkers. You don't have to do that.
I want them to go far into the future. Like tell stories about characters who we don't know. Don't remake KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic.
No.
Don't do that. Go make new stuff.
Yeah.
Like, stop stealing from the expanded universe and doing it poorly. But all right. So we have been recording now for 2 hours and 15 minutes. So we are...
Oh,
it's past my bedtime.
Okay, it's past mine too, because I'm usually in bed. But let me say this to you guys. I didn't get a chance to say this. One, thank you very much for inviting me again on the show. I'm very, Brian, I respect you and I love you. You're a good friend of mine, and I'm glad that we've been able to preserve the friendship. D, getting to know you well too, and I like talking to you as well, my man.
Same here, man.
What I wanted to throw in here is, this is going to shock you, but I thought WandaVision was brilliant.
It's the most creative thing Marvel ever did.
We love WandaVision for the most part.
When we had our Patreon, we did commentary tracks for WandaVision and Virtue Signal and the Neutered Soldier, and it was fun.
What was what elicited the most emotional response from you from that show?
From WandaVision?
Yeah.
For me, I'll go. For me, it wasn't the actual plot of the story of WandaVision, although there were some good moments, especially with the kids.
Yeah.
I will say, and again, growing up, we used to watch TV Land, I think it was called.
Mm-hmm.
So all those shows, Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie, all the shows, those first 4 episodes really took in. And it just brought me back to my childhood in that way. And that was one of the reasons I think I love, especially the first half of it. I mean, I think it got a little sloppy, but I still, even at the end, even if I think it got sloppy, I still really enjoyed it. I enjoyed Elizabeth Olsen's performance and Paul Bettany's performance. But those moments with those old shows, thinking about watching it with my parents just when I was a young kid, it just put me in that mindset.
What a great vehicle for that show, too. Those different...
The different TV shows.
I mean,
like the Brady Bunch. And
incredible, going through the eras.
Yeah. For me, it was when we learned that she broke mentally, and this was her No More Mutants moment, kind of. And she not only made everything up, but she willed these children into existence on some plane of existence that wasn't the whatever Marvel 616, whatever we're in. I don't think it's 616, but
and it made her it made her character to me deeper and scarier.
More as Kirk would say, human.
Oh, he was the most human. I love that line. Yeah. But look, what about when Vision figures out he's not?
Oh, real? I mean, when he sacrifices himself, it's but that's the most Vision thing.
And let's end here and say this. That's Marvel. Yeah. That's Marvel Comics. Yeah. And I just want people to know. I want people to know what Marvel is. I want people to know what Star Wars is at its peak.
And DC.
Yeah. Oh, and DC.
Because DC has the 3 most recognizable superheroes.
Yes.
Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, in that order.
It doesn't get any better than those 3.
Marvel has Spider-Man as the most recognizable.
Spider-Man can go toe to toe with those.
Yeah, but what we talked the other day, Deadpool and Venom are their other 2 big ones.
Yeah.
But people aren't fans of Deadpool comics or Venom comics. They're just fans of the characters.
Of the characters.
So,
yeah. Anyway.
So, all right. First off, if you've listened this far, thank you.
Thank you.
So this has been so much fun. 450 episodes. This has been amazing.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Darryl. Thank you for starting this with me.
Yeah.
And pushing me to actually learn how to do this right. You'll never know how much we've talked about this and why we started this part. Then I'm not going to share all of that, but this has been an amazing decade to like just grow and learn and talk about this stuff with you, with Johnny, with Darryl, with all the various guests and the people we've interviewed over the years. And, Haley's been a part of it. She's been on several times. She's our YA correspondent,
Is she? Okay.
The the Cincinnati Comic Expo was this weekend. I'll be there. Galaxy Con in Columbus, the weekend of our birthday. I'll be there at least one day. So, starting to do that kind of stuff again is a lot of fun.
Let me throw this out. I'd like to come back, and once you guys have read it, I'd like to review Absolute Batman with you.
I mean, I did tell you, like, you weren't allowed back on until I had Lucius Hammer 3 in my hands.
Well, I'll give you some artwork. How about that?
No, I need the finished book to read. So, anyway, Darryl, anything you want to add?
No, just thanks a lot. And, even though I haven't been around for 450, been around for quite a bit. And, here's to a lot more in the future.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you all for listening. This has been a blast. I hope you all enjoyed this as much as we have. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
The Infamous Podcast is recorded in Kings Mills, Ohio, just north of Cincinnati. You can find new episodes every Sunday on Apple Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcast, our website, or anywhere podcasts are downloaded. This show is hosted by Darryl Jasper and me, Brian Tudor. To find more information about the show, visit us at infamouspodcast.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Infamous Podcast to keep up with the show. We also have a Patreon page, patreon.com/infamouspodcast. We have some great rewards for our patrons and are looking for help to grow the show to bring you more of the content you want to hear. Music for this podcast is provided by Michael Henry from meetmichaelhenry.com. So, whenever you're listening to us, have a great day, night, evening, weekend, whenever it is, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.